It is called aggressive patience. You have to understand that not only is it going to take time, so you have to be patient, but also during the time that you are waiting, you have to be executing day after day after day after day, as if you can will and force this goal into reality. Because when people hear be patient, you know what they hear? Sit in your chair, kick your feet up on the desk, and it'll just happen. That is not how it works. You have to come in, you have to dedicate yourself, you have to execute day after day after day after day at the highest level that you possibly can for as long as you can, and still it's going to take time. You can't outwork the time.
How about that, guys? You can't outwork. What did you say at the end? You can't outwork the time, but showing up day after day after day, which is why we're showing up here on PulseChain, the greatest currencies community. The two index tokens on PulseChain that are bonded with the most promising assets on the entire chain that pay us every single day in rewards for holding. And then you can LP, you can stake, you can lock on top of that to earn additional rewards. Yeah, man, that's what it's all about. Being rewarded. Because otherwise, why are we here? We're here for number go up. I mean, we all get that, and we're going to get it. If we haven't got it yet, we're going to get it. I haven't got none. We're going to get it. But in addition to that, in addition to number go up, value of token go up, we earn passive rewards, which I love. Good morning. Did I drop this in the chat? I think I did.
What's up, Banana?
It's getting cold up here, man. It's getting cold where you are?
Yeah, today's the first day we have the heater on in our house.
Wow.
Probably not cold to you. You would probably think it was like warm, but
Probably.
cold to us.
Yeah. Oh, man. A lot's been happening this week, let me tell you.
We're rolling with the punches.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. But
yeah, one thing that's been standing out to me, obviously none of us like to see low prices, but just the automatic buy and burns with pTGC, the quantity of tokens that we're burning right here is pretty much double what we were burning at our higher levels.
Really? I haven't looked. I believe it. I mean, the evidence is what is coming into my wallet. I mean, look.
The quantity of rewards that you're receiving is probably double-ish too.
Yeah.
As far as pTGC tokens.
I mean, compared to what I was tucking away, a couple months ago, I'm like, yeah. And usually I compound every week, but I've been compounding more frequently because I'm just like, I want to get those things back in the hopper and working for me. What's interesting is we have perspective now, because when we were at our all-time high, you weren't getting as many tokens, and I was looking at it and I was like, whatever, this is nice, I'll just let them stack up for a while and then I'll compound. But now I'm getting like, I don't know how many X's in additional tokens, and it makes me excited about compounding now, especially for when we go back up.
Yeah, what I'm seeing, because I remember when we were at higher levels, when we weren't using the DAO and stuff, just the automatic functions, we're having a lot of 3 to 4 million pTGC burn days. Obviously, the price of those 3 to 4 million pTGC were 5, 6, 7x higher at those higher levels. But what I'm seeing now is, us having days of 8, 9 million pTGC bought and burnt. The value is less, right? Because we're less in price. But, so I would say it's probably double the amount of tokens that you're receiving in rewards.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, sure. I mean, we've burned nearly 3 million pTGC in the last 24 hours. Now, what about UFO? By the way, we're now 101 X's away from a penny. We were at one time we were like what 7 or 10 X away.
I think we got to 7.
And UFO is not. I'm not seeing anything on look into for burns. Must not.
Yeah, it probably hasn't hit the threshold yet.
Yeah. We're losing a little bit of ground against PLS. But I would say overall, I mean, we're at 5.4. We were at 6 plus for the longest time, like several weeks. I would say relative to what is happening on PulseChain, I think pTGC is holding up pretty well.
Yeah, there's barely any tokens that have been able to stay above a 5 mil market cap at this point.
And we're at nearly 30. Mercus 2012 on YouTube said he's going to give out dolphin positions to all of his siblings this holiday season. Very generous. That is very generous of you. And I think that they will be happy in due time.
Yeah, what's a dolphin position right now? Is that
290, I believe. Now that was my
$300.
Yeah, let me think. Yeah, that's got to be about, because the dolphin position is 2.9 million. Because of squid, yeah. So it'd be $300, $300 for a dolphin. Yeah.
Gosh, I want to be part of his family. That's a pretty large gift.
Mm-hmm.
What it could be too. Especially with prices lower right now. Someone was in the chat yesterday and they were asking the APY question. And the APY question's hard because you have to go off of pretty much previous data with fluctuating price, etc. And he said, well, I just kind of want to know what's possible with 10 million pTGC. Like, it looked like maybe he was on the fence. Like, should I get 10 million pTGC or should I not? I kind of want a little bit more information. Looks like he was gathering some information. So I plugged it into one of our new calculators, the 10 million pTGC held and then also staked. And then I went to what our average daily volume is for the year. So just taking all the volume throughout the last year and then dividing that by 365, that's the average daily volume, right?
Right.
And then I just plugged that in for the average daily volume and what the APY would be based on today's prices. So if, for an example, if you took action today and in the next year we had the exact same amount of daily volume that we had last year, we could have more, we could have less. All we can do really is go off of the previous data, right?
Mm-hmm.
What it equaled, I think, was 7.5% APY based on the prices today.
Wow.
And the reason that APY is higher than a lot of other people's is because the price per pTGC is cheap right now. So by locking in an entry price of cheap tokens, you're getting more pTGC for less value injected. So what you have in it is technically less, making your APY bigger. If you spent twice the amount of money on that same quantity of tokens, your APY or APR would be half.
Right. Now, was that for reflections or staking?
That included both.
Okay.
And that was only volume based. You would get a little bit more APY because of the 1% you get when people close down their stakes And then if you decided to lock, you could even increase that as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the reflections and rewards for holding and staking.
Nice.
I think it's like at least 10 to 20% more. I think it's 20% more that you get in APY just from people unstaking. Because I think you noticed that, Banana. You're like, hey, why is my numbers 20% off from these numbers? And I said, well, these numbers are just volume based. Your staking rewards that you have for real data includes the volume and the people early on staking.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I'm trying to remember what I was referring to. Do you remember what day that was?
A few days ago.
Okay.
Like 3 days, 2 days.
Okay. I'll try to figure that out. Yeah, that you're talking about the 1% that goes to other stakers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you didn't understand what I was getting at when I was telling you why that number was different. When you do a calculation just based on volume, it's not going to include that, right?
Right.
But when you do a calculation based on your last year's previous numbers, it does include that. So it should be higher.
Okay.
And I think that's some good data to show how much that really adds up to be for the people who remain in their stakes, with the flow of people coming in and out of their stakes.
Yes. Yeah, I need to keep that in mind when I'm thinking about pTGC.
Yeah, I think what it was roughly 20%. So, not including volume, when you're staked, you get roughly another 20% APY just from everyone else flowing in and out of stakes.
Wow. Okay. Man, that's valuable. Okay, and SC brings up a good point. We were wrong on the dolphin position cost. Because a shark is 290 million tokens. Next one down is dolphin, which would be 29 million tokens. Okay. So that is
2,900?
Yep. About 2,900. Yo. Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah. Thank you, SC, for bringing that to our attention. Yeah, guys, hold us accountable, especially me. When you're streaming, your attention and it just gets spread out.
On the new site, Banana, if you go to the supply distribution page, it will tell you on that day exactly how much each position costs. So you don't have to think about it anymore if you don't want to.
Okay. Is that on the statistics?
Go to statistics and then go to supply distribution. I think you also can get to it from the homepage.
Right.
And then there's a pie graph up at the top, and then you can scroll down, and it shows like the quantity of holders in each section, and then how much that section cost.
Right. Okay, I've seen it there. I just haven't looked in.
And it's real time, so if you ever are wondering how much a position costs, you can just shoot over there real quick.
Yeah. Good deal. Usually I just go straight to Dex Screener and put in the number of tokens. I was thinking about it. You said that our community is, one of the largest on PulseChain, but I never really gave it any thought, like thinking about other communities. But I was thinking about it this morning, and I have to agree. I'm not familiar with all the communities, but I have to think that and agree that, the Grays Currencies community is very large. I think that, obviously everybody over here, most people are Richard Hart fans. So there's that core community, the core assets, which would be the largest. And then
a big reason why anyone's here, right? Pretty much everyone is a Hex holder and is in PulseChain because of Hex. There's definitely a group of people that have came after PulseChain and after Hex. but a very, very large percentage of the people on PulseChain started as Hex community members.
Yes. Yep. And I think that probably the PDI community is the second largest, and then perhaps the Grays, something close to that. Can you think of any other communities that would be in the top three? I'd have to maybe go through my...
There's some that like come to mind for periods of time, but that's kind of one thing that stands out to me with pTGC is it's not like the flash of the size of the community. It's the fact that we've been able to maintain that size for pretty much 2 years now and like continuously work and growing it. I think that's the most unique thing as far as having like an active community for a short amount of time is one thing, but being able to maintain the efforts of that community and keep everyone working for like a common cause is what is very, very different, I think, about pTGC. And it's something that's always stood out to me about the PulseChain community and the Hex community in general. Having, even though everyone kind of has different interests and different beliefs, the Hex was like that common amongst many. And that's what made PulseChain so strong, right? Like the common amongst many is what I think even gives PulseChain a solid product market fit. You know, the blockchain is robust and battle tested, but there's a lot of blockchains out there nowadays. So we have to pay attention to what makes us different than the other blockchains out there. And the very strong, like common-minded community, like with the same values, I think goes a long way. And I think that's really a lot of what crypto is having a community behind a specific asset that are willing to put in the work to make that asset become more relevant. Because it's not always about the tech. Look at where Bitcoin's at right now. And there's, out of every cryptocurrency this cycle, I'd say Bitcoin definitely had the most demand. It didn't get the most demand because of the tech. It got the most demand because of it feeling like a very secure asset that had a large community behind it. And I think out of a lot of blockchains, a lot of tokens, the PulseChain and Hex community definitely have the right idea and the right efforts to fall into that category. Right now, our biggest hurdle is just price. You know, it definitely just doesn't feel like a true long-term investment when your chart's been going down for 5 years. We need to get that changed and working that in the right direction and just keep increasing our community like we have been for the last 5 years, I think is really the sauce that we have here. That's like the secret recipe to the success. But we got to get that chart working in the right direction. This goes for PPC too. You know, I think we have code, you know, decentralized code. So the product is by far good enough. The liquidity is by far good enough. Our community is growing every single day. So keep increasing the community. Let's get this chart working in the right direction. And then as far as like everything we need to become a top 30 cryptocurrency, I think is right there. The foundation is strong, and that's what's most important. So now it's just keep increasing the community. If that's in real life people, if that's crypto people, if that's other blockchain people, PulseChain people, and start working our chart back in the right direction. Show the sustainability of the system, because that's one thing most cryptocurrencies lack is sustainability. 99.9% of them fail. Yeah. So we have to prove that we're in that 0.1%. And with community strength, with code strength, with liquidity strength, we have everything we need. I think PulseChain also has everything we need. Just same thing. A lot of people have to kind of, I think, swallow their pride a little bit and realize that we kind of got to get back to work, keep onboarding. It doesn't take much to get PulseChain up 2 to 3x from here. I think it only takes like $3 to $4 million in net positive value coming in, but that's completely doable. And once we get our chart moving back in the right direction, it solves a lot of the hurdles that we're trying to get over right now.
Yeah. We're bouncing right now. Bitcoin's up 0.5%, which is a big deal. pTGC is up 10%. So I don't know that this won't be temporary. but it's nice to see.
Yeah, if bull market's still on or if bear market's on, I think we're due for a bounce either way. We've been trending down quite a bit.
True.
Nick's a good TA guy. He could probably give us some more insight on it.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Can you hear me?
What's up, Nick?
Another day, another red candle, right? But I mean, we always knew the volatility was going to come around this time period due to the fact that half the market, or maybe more now, thinks the 4-year cycle was going to top in Q4, and then there's the portion of the market cycle who believes we're in a 5-year business cycle, which leads to a 5-year Bitcoin cycle, which leads to a top in 2026. The problem is we didn't think the volatility was going to come from such quote-unquote low levels. We thought, there would be a higher breakout above 126,000 on Bitcoin and an actual real new all-time high for Ethereum above that 48 to 5,000 level, which means that this volatility, as the bulls and bears fight each other, wouldn't have got so deep. I think this also it was exacerbated by the liquidation crisis on October 10th. But I've always been in the camp, and I'm still in the camp, that this is an elongated cycle due to Bitcoin. People argue it's the 4-year halving cycle that really drives price, but that lines up perfectly with the traditional market business cycle, and that's liquidity, global liquidity. The global liquidity after COVID switched from a 4-year cycle to a 5-year cycle, and that's why I've been on the side. Bitcoin and crypto will top in 2026. You also have been in quantitative tightening this whole time, and that ends on December 1st, so it's going to take some time for that liquidity and those lower interest rates to become available to the public markets as well. So it's not fun, but I don't think this is over. I don't think we're about to be in a 2-year bear market. I think this is a normal 30 to 35% drop in Bitcoin during a bull trend, just like we saw 6 or 7 times in the 2016 to 2017 cycle, and just like we saw multiple times in 2019 and 2020. So that's just my thought. That's my little bit of hopium for you guys today. Still own the pTGC, still compounding it, still staking it. It's still the best asset on PulseChain. I haven't faded PulseChain either. I don't agree with everything Richard Hart has done, but the SAC funds are still there. They're still tornado cashed, and people are wondering why he hasn't pumped it into the system now. He's said multiple times people don't like to sell things cheaper than they bought them, and I don't think he's going to inject a majority of that capital until Ethereum is above that 3,800, 4,000, 5,000 level. And as we know, that just hasn't happened. When the tornado cashing was going on, ETH was above 4,000. It looks like he was preparing for ETH broke out to start taking money off the table and dumping it into PulseChain and pumping that chain, but that's just not what happened with that liquidation crisis. So unfortunate timing, and seems we just got to wait a little bit longer. Another 2 weeks, boys. Another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming up, Nick, and sharing that.
Okay.
You got anything on YouTube? You want to go over any of Richard's tweets, Banana?
I do. I dropped my pinned tweet, which is the video, into the Jumbotron video, which is a teaser about pTGC and UFO. So if you're cruising spaces today and you're wondering what we're talking about over here, this is the Grace currencies. There's a 3 or 4 minute video on my Twitter. Click on it and you'll get an idea what we're talking about. Yeah, let's go to Twitter. I have not been keeping up with Richard's tweets. Does anything stand out about him to you?
I don't think I've been really keeping up with them either, to be honest. Or nothing has stood out to me, one or the other.
I read some stuff that seemed positive. He still seems bullish about PulseChain. Let's see.
This first one, I don't know if it's new, but I've been seeing a lot of people posting around like where you created your Twitter and where you're at right now, and it looks like he's complaining about that. Which gives us a little bit of information on where Richard is, I think. I saw someone post Richard's. I think it said like East Asia or something like that.
Okay. I see the ProveX SAC is up to $3.2 million now.
halfway done with before the bonding curve.
I think we're more than. Didn't it start on a Tuesday and it ran for 21 days? It's going to run for 21 days, right?
Yeah, I thought 20. So it looks like we're 11 days in and there's 10 days left.
Okay. All right. Well, it'll be over before we know it. I'll be thankful when it is over. Then we can start waiting for the product. And when has he given any idea the delivery of the product? When it's going to be ready?
I think that's a fair question. Is the product completely done? If the product is completely done, does it release right away? Obviously, we have like 40 days left, or no, 50 days left at least.
50 days of what? The
sacrifice.
No, we just said we got 10 days left of the Prove X sacrifice, right?
But that's just until the bonding curve starts going up.
Oh, okay.
And then there's that bonding curve that gets people less of a deal, which, is an interesting game theory too, because a lot of people right now have to sell their Richard cores to get into that sacrifice. But if you're selling right now, you're selling the absolute bottom. I think we're pretty much at all-time lows right now, if not just like 5 to 10% off of it before the bonding curve. But maybe if you're patient and you just let the bonding curve go up and you get a little less of a deal on your Prove X, but you could possibly get a better deal, with your Richard tokens if you think that after this 10-day period passes, if you think prices of PulseChain will actually start going up, that might be a play. I don't think you should bet too much on it. I think there's a possibility that PulseChain sits down at this low level throughout the whole sacrifice because of that reason. If prices start going up and someone sacrificed from the bottom and then PLS goes up, they might DCA their sacrifice if they're pulling from Richard tokens. Or maybe after this bonding curve, everyone's just tapped out and they already threw their money in and that's it. And maybe price can start moving up finally again. I definitely think the sacrifice has put like an artificial low on our chart. I don't think we would have actually came onto this level if the sacrifice didn't go on. And liquidity is just so thin on chain right now. Just anyone wanting to take a position out pushes the price down. Which again, any remote amount of money coming in pushes the price up. We could play with it on look into pTGC, but I think $1 million into PulseChain at this level makes PulseChain do like a 2x. Like that's just crazy to think about that. If any people wanted to get $1 million of PulseChain right now, they would push the price up 2x against themselves just to get it.
Yeah, see, $1 million into PulseChain right now is a 1.53x.
Okay, so not a 2x. It's only a 35% increase.
Yeah. It's still close though, dude.
Yeah, put 2 million in if you can.
Okay.
Let me see what that is.
That's gonna be more than 3.
No.
Wouldn't it?
No.
Oh, I guess it would go down, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's 2.17. I was thinking in reverse. Typical. 2.17x.
Okay, yeah. So $2 million. If a couple whales wanted a position, they'd push the price up 2x against themselves. Which in crypto, $2 million is just nothing. It's crazy to think about. If we could get $2 million in and push the price up 2x, from this level, morale would change so much. And really the price of PulseChain still wouldn't be good, but I just know that the positivity of PulseChain, of everyone on PulseChain, would drastically change, just even getting close back up to half a sack price.
Yeah. Looks like we need about 6 million to come in for us to hit. Yep, 6 million would put us over sack price.
Was 5x?
Yes. 5.5 million would 5.3x us and put us just under sack price. So yeah, here it is. $5.7 million into PulseChain right now puts us a fuzz over sack price, 5.5x. And that's very, very little. 5.7 million is nothing.
It really is nothing. I think one of the issues is everyone was just expecting Richard to bring that 5 point whatever in, and I think he has, but like at times he has. But really, is an active community of 10,000 people on PulseChain. It doesn't take much for us as a community to bring that in, if that's through onboarding or, you know, work. I think a lot of people have stopped DCAing themselves. They're like just burnt out from it. And I think that's also an important thing, is like with standard investments outside of crypto, let's think of like in real life investments. A lot of people will DCA into investments with every single check, even if it's just a small amount, if it's for a retirement plan or whatever. And if you even pulled just a small amount from every check and pulled it into PulseChain, if you believe in PulseChain as far as the long-term asset goes, and we're so much looking at like, I need to get quick exits and get out, but more look at like, hey, I'm going to DCA into this slowly throughout, you know, the next 5 years. That really will start to add up as far as our community goes. If everyone was kind of working off of that same mindset, which really is the mindset that we should be using if we actually think this is a true investment. I think a lot of people are willing to do that with like Bitcoin and Ethereum due to the sustainability and the product that it's proven to become. But just doing that with PulseChain, if you believe PulseChain could become somewhat like Ethereum, could just be an amazing move. And it just takes that discipline. Obviously, it's difficult when prices are down, but right now you're getting literally 5 times the amount of tokens than people got for sacrificing 4 years ago. That's crazy to think about for the gas token of the blockchain.
Yeah, especially if you believe in it. Do you know how many X's? Okay, if we were to go to all-time high, previous all-time high, pTGC, in value and against the blockchain, do you know how many X's that is from here?
I saw you posting about this, and I think your numbers are a little off just to start.
Yeah, I think I refigured it, and I was like, whoops.
But shoot, I know we're over a 10x from our all-time highs, so I would say a 12 to 13x or something like that in dollar figures.
13.
And,
yep.
Yeah, and we're roughly a 4x in PLS terms.
So it's about 60. We're just under 60x. If we went to all-time high.
You don't add them up.
You multiply.
No. It's like one or the other. So in price right now, we're a 13x away from our all-time high. And against PulseChain, we're a 4x against our all-time high. But you don't put those together to make the all-time high. Like, for an example, for us to get to our all-time high in price, it can come from a group of situations. So if we need a 13x, that could be a 7x. This is a 14x just because it's an easier number to work with.
Sure.
A 7x of us against PulseChain, and then a 2x on PulseChain. That would be a 14x, and that would push us to all-time highs.
Okay. So 14x.
Yes, a 14x from here would push us into all-time highs against price. If you're looking at against PulseChain, we need a 4x.
Yes.
Against PulseChain, pretty much.
Okay, but wouldn't you multiply? Because it's the X multiplier. I mean, if we did both, if we went to previous all-time high in USD and against PulseChain, it'd be 14 times 3, would it not?
No.
Okay,
Well,
I'm way off then.
if we go to an all-time high against PulseChain, right, we would be at 22 pretty much.
Yes.
To 1. And that's our all-time high.
And we're 4x away from that.
So, and then you could say, okay, well, if we go 22 to 1, let's just say we did that, well, we would be 4x higher in price also if PulseChain was the exact same price it is today.
Oh, okay.
If PulseChain then went up 4x, so let's say we got to 22 to 1, and then PulseChain went up 4x. You can multiply those two together, and that's a 16x. So yes, we would be over all-time highs in the example of a 4x on PulseChain and a 4x against PulseChain.
Okay.
We would be landing at 16x. We would be at all-time highs. But I kind of understand what you're doing, but that's not necessarily how it works. You can do that, but we would be so much higher than all-time highs. If you're saying, hey, we want to do, well, it's not really us against price, because us against price is a conglomeration or a conglomerate of us against PulseChain and what PulseChain is doing. I think that's where we're having a little bit of the issue. So
yes.
This is probably a better example. What if we get to all-time highs against PulseChain? Okay. So we go 4x, and what if PulseChain gets to all-time highs? And not the all-time highs that happen like the first day of launch, but the all-time highs that happen like 6 months after launch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's roughly a 10x from here, right? Because we're at 4 zeros and 2, and all-time high is 3 zeros and 2, besides the one that happened right after launch. The one right after launch is 3 zeros 3, so it's even better, but that was just because there was so much demand built up through the 2-year waiting period that everyone just blew their load within the first, couple days, and then all the money was gone. But so if PulseChain did a 10x, it got to its all-time high, and then we got to our all-time high against PulseChain. That would be a 4x against PulseChain. That would equal a 40x for people taking action on pTGC today.
Right. Okay.
So I think that's what you're trying to create.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And that's 40x, man. That's significant.
Yeah, 40x is not nothing in an asset like this that actually has liquidity to back it, that's paying APY, that's also hyperinflationary. That once we do that 40x, the value generation of the machine could be, in my opinion, 20 to 40x higher. And then you take what we've been able to generate in the last year, which is roughly $10 million, or it's like $8 million between pTGC and UFO. If everything kind of moved, we'd be sitting pretty good. You'd be sitting, I think, at roughly $160 million of value generation between the two assets. If we could sustain those levels, not just hit them and then drop right back down.
Right.
And those are, I don't think, out of the question, right? You kind of have to start asking yourself, like, what's in the cards with what's already been proven? And I think both those examples, PulseChain hitting its all-time high, pTGC hitting its all-time high, like against PulseChain, like these are all easily in the cards. They've already been done. That isn't uncharted territory. And since we've been growing in the meantime, where would we be at that time? We're still making steps in the right direction every single day, but some days it feels like we're not actually getting in this right direction. A good example is like, it's kind of like you're on a bus and you are in the back of the bus. To get to your destination, you need to walk to the front of the bus, but you also need the bus to drive to the location that you're going, and then you can get off. Right now, I feel like we're taking the step inside the bus, and PulseChain's the bus, but the bus is in reverse right now, so we're actually moving backwards. When you kind of get out of the bus and you look at the human inside of it, even though that person's taking steps forwards, if the bus is rolling backwards, that person is actually moving backwards.
Right.
even know taking the steps forward. So what we believe is happening is we're making our way to the front of the bus. So when the bus finally starts moving in the direction that we're going, we're already at the front. We're already to the point that we need to go or we want to go, and we just need the bus to kind of do the rest of the work because we're a vessel within a vessel.
Yep. pTGC.
And then you could look at the bus as being its own vessel within another vessel, like the broader crypto market and the market in general. Like everything kind of needs to work in your favor. You can have the bus moving in the right direction, but if the world's spinning the opposite direction, if you zoom out even more, you could be moving still backwards.
Sure. pTGC dropped to 0 about 10 minutes ago.
I've seen it. It was below it, and then we went back above it.
Okay. When was? Oh, I haven't watched it that closely.
Yeah, we added the 0, I think, yesterday, which that was a little bit of a blow. But,
yeah. I can hear it in your voice.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a blow. Obviously no one wants to see price at these levels, but again, like I think what we can do is look at the silver lining of the situation that we're in and use the situation that we're in to the best of our advantage. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of growth that we can make at these levels that would have been so much harder at higher levels.
Yeah.
It'll be blatantly harder in the future for us to be buying and burning this much supply.
Oh yeah, man.
Increasing our community size as far as distribution goes. As we go higher, to get a new user to get a dolphin position or a shark position, it possibly could come for an average person nearly impossible, right? They would have to DCA. Well, right now, someone could get a dolphin position, I think we said, for like $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a number that is, I think, doable for an average IRL person.
Yeah.
It might be a little out of their comfort zone, especially if they've never considered crypto before. But I do think that number is like a doable number if you said like, hey, this is the opportunity, risk to reward. I think someone who has a decent job could possibly pull $3,000 aside and get themselves a dolphin position within pTGC at this level, to where if we waited to try to onboard these people, let's say 10x from here, which is very easily achievable, a lot of people don't have $30,000 to pull to the side just right off of a conversation. Like that would take someone getting a little bit more serious into it. It's not so much Vegas money risk to reward anymore. They're using it as a true investment at this point, which is fine. I think that's what a lot of us here have done, right? Like I use it as a true investment. You use it as a true investment. But a lot of in real life people, I don't think are really willing to make that jump yet. We're just kind of letting them dip their toes in the water. But it's cool at these low prices that when we let them dip their toes in the water, they're actually getting a significant position.
Mm-hmm. So back when we were at our all-time high last, which I'm pretty sure was last February, pTGC, we were talking, we had, we at least mentioned pTGC going to perhaps $1. If we do go to $1 this cycle or whenever it happens, it's 10,000x from here. pTGC has to do 10,000 X's from this level to reach $1. So 1,000x for 10 cents, 100x for a penny.
But I think it's a valuable point where we're kind of sitting in price right now. I think this is the price that you first got in at, Banana.
No, lower. No. Close, but lower.
Because I know we're pretty much sitting at the first all-time high we made when PulseChain hit its all-time high. And did you get in before that, or did you get in right after that?
I got in late January, early February 24. About about a 4x from this price, I think, or about a 4x.
Let's see if
3
that's
or
a little
4.
bit before, because we hit a high and then it dipped down, right? And then it went down for a good like 6 months. And I know you were definitely part of that journey when we're going to those lower levels. But then when PulseChain bottomed, we had a massive move of like a 50, 60x.
Mm-hmm. I came in at about 403, and we've never retraced to that level. I wish I had bought more. And we've literally never been back my whole journey. And I'm happy. I'm thankful, but I'm like, man, I wish I could have got more.
Oh, wow. I pulled up the pTGC chart right now just because I'm trying to look at this information. A very valuable piece of information that we're seeing prices right now that we hadn't seen in like a year and a half.
Yeah.
But we're up 18% right now, which feels pretty good.
Yes.
So that's cool.
Yeah, Bitcoin's up. I've seen it. It's been fluctuating, but it's up like 1%, 1.5%. This is probably the most positive.
You keep going.
I was going to say, this is probably the most positive action I've seen all week. So hopefully it sustains.
Hey, Zen, are you seeing this ratio on Pulse versus pTGC right now?
Well, I see we're up 18%, so I'm assuming some buys just came in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last night I was thinking, as the price gets down to, whatever level, like there's only going to be so many people willing to relinquish the rest of their tokens this cycle, whatever that number is. And when that floor gets reached, guys, I'm just thinking, when that floor gets reached, the only thing that's left really to happen at that point is that the grays goes up against Pulse and ratio. Because if everyone that's out at these low market caps is out, and then whatever the ratio is, the system's still generating revenue, people recognize that basically the floor is reached, and if they want positions, what else happens? So, like, it's interesting to see like how quickly we just went from a 5 to almost a 6 to 1 in like hours.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, there's a very beautiful green candle on the daily in our ratio against Pulse.
Well, I'm on the 4 hour right now, and it's just nice to see like everything is green. That doesn't really matter to me at the moment. Like everything is a little bit green, but Pulse is up only 6%, maybe 6-7% on the day.
Yes, 6%. And pTGC is up 18. That's how it should be.
Yeah, I just wonder at some point, guys, once everything kind of levels out to wherever it's going to be, and you're just watching pTGC just chug up against it. Like, what would that actually be? We were talking about, Zen, earlier, how important it is to see the X multiplier above the ratio, like to get the ratio double or triple from here before like a substantial move. I actually think that's actually what will naturally end up happening. Even in a bear market.
Well, that's kind of where we've made all our progress in the past. PulseChain somewhat flat. PulseChain's technically been somewhat flat since its launch. It's done 2 to 3x moves, but where we've made a lot of progress is when PulseChain has kind of hit lower levels, and we've started to be able to do X's against PulseChain, right? Just like the example you're explaining right now. If PulseChain sat in this range, why couldn't we keep doing what we're doing, the machine keep onboarding, buy and burns, generating revenue, and trend up against PulseChain if PulseChain's willing to sit down here too long, if easiest point to do it when PulseChain's at its low levels, and that's how we've gotten to where we've gotten, is every time PulseChain has gotten to these low levels, this isn't the first time we've seen these low levels. This is where we've covered ground against PulseChain. So then when PulseChain finally kind of comes in to give a little assistance with the X multiplier, we've already done a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful seeing Gray's over 30 million market cap right here. Love it.
So what I was kind of getting at while I was pulling up the chart was in February of 2024 is when we actually tapped these highs, or this range. So that was, gosh, what, a year and 8 months ago? This was like an all-time high for pTGC. And we're very close to we're pretty much in those ranges again. Obviously, at that time, that was our first all-time high. So we had a consolidation that was at all-time highs of PulseChain. That was when PulseChain was at 3 zeros and a 3. So where we're finding ourselves in price is hitting those numbers again.
But when you look TA-wise, just to put it clearly, when you look on the weekly, it's literally sitting atop the magnet, the base magnet, right? Everything's been pulled back down to the untested magnet.
Yeah, and I don't know, Banana, I think what you were saying is you got in pretty much right before we got to this level, and then us as a community, we all kind of went down to those low ranges when PulseChain pulled back.
Yes.
But we're testing that level again. And I've always been thinking back, like, Banana was very, very early to pTGC. It was like within the first 6 months of pTGC launch. He's got to experience a ton of the journey, and we're at those levels again. We're hitting those levels right now, not because of pTGC, but because of this pullback that we've had on PulseChain, and a little bit to do with, reflexivity. But that opportunity is in front of us again. These people at Pulse. And if PulseChain sits at this range, we can do a bunch of X's against PulseChain for very little amount of revenue inject. Just kind of like Mando was pointing out.
Yeah, when you look at the pTGC against PLS chart, I like seeing breakouts like that. Strong breakouts to the upside against the chain is, people look for stuff like that. That's a massive, that's telling you that something is performing against the blockchain.
Yeah, man. Yo, that's beautiful.
Now, when it's PulseChain, it's like, okay, you're performing against PulseChain kind of a thing. But we know what the ratio has been even when PulseChain was going up. So, we've got the KPIs for that. So it's nice to see it anyway.
Yeah, the performing against PulseChain, a bad thing. I don't like, because you have to realize we are on PulseChain, so we are constantly getting dragged up and down by PulseChain. So for us to perform against it in an environment that has less users and less value than ever, I don't think that's something to overlook. If we were built on a different blockchain and we were connected via liquidity to and that blockchain was moving up, that's a different story. You're like, oh yeah, they're moving up against PulseChain because they're connected to this asset that's moving up, and there's actually a new users and new value in this other blockchain. That makes sense. But the thing is, we are actually built on PulseChain. So if PulseChain's performing poorly, that means like the vessel that we're on has less capital to tap into, less volatility to use, less volume to use, less users to onboard into the ecosystem naturally just from the users on the blockchain. This is things that most other assets don't have to kind of bend themselves through and fight through, because they're launching on blockchains that already have hundreds of thousands of users with hundreds of millions of dollars on the chain. And, you know, it's a completely different environment. So if we can actually increase in value in some of these, pretty much some of the worst blockchain conditions that you can imagine, what happens if those conditions actually change in your favor? Kind of like a ship riding on the sea and we're going through the worst storm ever. And tomorrow we wake up and it's clear waters and the wind is pushing in the direction that we need it to go and, you know, to kind of sail into the sunset. And I do believe that time's going to come. And what we're seeing right now is the products that can weather through this storm could pretty much weather through anything.
Yeah, it'd be beautiful to see a bunch of FOMO hit a token like this on the chain, because chain's bottomed out, and that candle's just going strongly green against the chain, right? But if you want to,
that's what I was kind of bringing up. You know what I mean? We have a lot of people on PulseChain that just haven't gotten the entry points that they've wanted, because by the time they figured out what pTGC was, it was already kind of rocking. Well, here we are again, sitting at a level which I personally believe is like an extreme discount.
Yeah.
And they actually have the opportunity to take action on exposing themselves for a price that's pretty darn discounted. And if we start moving up against PulseChain, that opportunity can disappear very, very quickly, even without the help of PulseChain.
They will fumble the ball or they will FOMO.
I see you anonymous listening. Creeping.
Tick tock, tick tock.
the famous alien audio. Everybody knows that sound.
Cracks me up every time.
Just had to come in just to play it.
Yeah, it's definitely a timing thing, though, right? Like in the past, every single time PulseChain has hit its bottom, and I don't know if PulseChain's hit its bottom. Obviously, we have 10 more days of this sacrifice left. We could see another dip on PulseChain, no problem. But we also could not see a dip. And every single time PulseChain has hit these lows, they have entry points on pTGC, if you want to be exposed to it. Right, if you want to be exposed to the liquidity web, the community, the buy and burns, the LPS, the APY just for holding, if you care to be exposed for it, when PulseChain has hit its lows, those have always been the best entry points for pTGC and UFO. And there's 2 years of that data. It's happened like 4 times now. And those entry points can disappear from PulseChain kind of moving up, or from what we're kind of seeing right now, a combination of both. People wanting to take advantage of the discount, plus people taking advantage of the discount on PulseChain, moving PulseChain up at the same time, activating that reflexivity.
Well, it also becomes a very clean speculation play too, even for traders. You know, when you've got over 2 years of just beautiful network effect and massive holder base, real liquidity, you know it's not going to rug. You know the founder and the crew, integrity, been there every damn week, through thick and thin. And if you're looking for stuff on PulseChain to enter in and exit, maybe you're just looking to flip a bag or whatever. It doesn't even matter about the 5 in, 5 out when the thing's going up 20, 30, 40% in the day. You know, when you get nice swings like that, right? So it becomes a nice speculation play. It becomes a great long-term potential speculation for the chain. It becomes everything all in one, really.
Yeah, even if you want to get your value back, you know, by taking action at these low prices, every single time you've been able and leave a nice bag to possibly just be along for the ride. If this is actually one of the next 30 top cryptocurrencies like we believe it could become, you wouldn't be too upset at that decision. Even if you needed that value back or wanted that value back, you know, wait for the 2x, pull back your initial. Now you just have house money riding, and, you know, you are exposed to something that you weren't exposed to just using the information that we've had from being a product that is 2 years old. Most products, you don't have the opportunity to look at 2 years of data, seeing every single time PulseChain has bottomed. pTGC has moved up drastically off of those bottoms.
Yeah, and the lighter the weight of LP, the easier and stronger it is for that pop to happen.
Yeah, that's why, you know, community efforts right now, definitely putting in the effort right now to onboard. It doesn't help your onboard the most because you're getting them in at cheapest prices, but you're also helping the protocol the most because bringing in, let's say, $10,000 right now compared to $10,000 after the 2x or 3x or 4x or 5x is a world of a difference. It makes a huge difference on the chart by bringing it in at the bottom where liquidity is less compared to bringing in after liquidity is 2x higher, 3x higher, 4x higher, or 5x higher. So you're not only helping the user you're onboarding, you're also helping the chart. So you're helping PulseChain in general, which is technically, if you're onboarding the pTGC, most likely you own pTGC, you're also helping yourself. Because if you onboard people at low levels instead of high levels, you are actually going to push the chart up harder than on with that same quantity of value later.
Who else cares to come up and chat? There's a lot of people in here, Zen. I'll say it again, guys. If you're cruising this spaces and you want to know what pTGC and UFO are, there's a video in the Jumbotron that is a quick summary of the two tokens.
Yeah, definitely have had a lot of new faces popping in, or old faces even coming in and into the TG creeping down here.
Mm-hmm.
Had new people come in yesterday asking a bunch of questions.
That's wonderful. There was a guy. I don't even think he joined the main Telegram, but he got a position in maybe I mentioned this Monday already, but he got a position in pTGC just out of the blue. He comes into my Telegram. He's like, yeah, I got a position in pTGC today. And I was like, wow, wonderful. He said, yeah, I came in off of a K4K. He was in K4K's, I don't know. Maybe he watched him on YouTube or something. But when K4K went full guns pTGC last fall, this guy took note and patiently waited for an entire year for this pullback. And he literally got his position this week. Can you believe that? I mean, what nerve. I mean, that guy has some nerve. Like, for example, when I got into pTGC, we were uptrending really hard. And the pTGC has never retraced to that level. I'm glad I acted. But yeah, this dude waited, and I'm impressed, man. Absolutely.
Creeping. Y'all quiet. Y'all act like we ain't up the most on PulseChain right now. What's going on there?
I was to a bunch of people. Do you see a lot of people kind of been eyeing this range that we've gotten to, and possibly upon the reversal, there might be money waiting on the side to take action on pTGC, waiting for that confirmation of a reversal?
They are more on pTGC than PulseChain, in my opinion. 1,000.
Yes.
1,000%. They don't care about PulseChain at this point, in my opinion. I think that I've been lurking here and there in the Telegram groups, and I hear the FUD to try to get lower, and I see those same people on the Telegram creeping. So that tells me from the 13 years I've been in crypto, that's been that long. 12 years, whatever, I don't know, too damn long. All this time I've been in crypto, it's the same behaviors over and over and over and over and over again. So when I hear that and I see that, it just proves everything.
Yeah, even if you're not really into the deflationary aspect, the APY built into the code, just the aspect of by taking action at the lows of pTGC, you've been able to increase your, even if it's just to get more PulseChain, you've been easily able to increase your PulseChain, if that's by just continuing to hold the pTGC asset, or if you actually take some profits back into PulseChain. We've seen pTGC 10x PulseChain multiple times off of these lows.
We see it in the summer. It went from that was a 4 or 5x, and what's PulseChain high? And in July, what, like 4 zeros and a 6?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about that.
Yeah,
we ran 5 or 6x against it.
Yeah, the last move up wasn't one of our more drastic ones. We did get back to pretty much our all-time high against PulseChain, which was roughly like a 4x against PulseChain. So we did like a 4x against PulseChain, and I think PulseChain did like a 2 to 3x or a 2.5x. So even in that example, taking action at the right time, people were able to 4 times their PulseChain. They could have just scraped off a quarter of their bag, re-got all their PulseChain back, and still been exposed with, a decent PTGC with being paid back all their PulseChain. In the previous 2 times, it's been like a 10x, to where if you timed it properly, you could have 10x'd your bag of PulseChain. You could have very easily skimmed off 10%, got yourself back all your PulseChain, and still had a nice position of pTGC as well. That's what I think people are kind of looking at. Hey, pTGC has proven like 5 times now, every time PulseChain starts to move, even PulseChain moving, they can start doing X's against it. So I can actually rotate my PulseChain or fresh capital. Fresh capital is obviously a lot better at this level because PulseChain is down also. So you're getting an extreme discount bringing in fiat or stables, but you can actually turn that into more PulseChain or just more value by just taking advantage of these discounts. Obviously, that goes for long term.
I'll put it like this. This is like not like Moon Boy talk when we got our Moon Boy stream and everything like that, which we probably need to revisit that at some point. But I do think that, not financial advice, this is just my opinion. Crypto is all about who gets the most attention. It's that simple. There's no marketing on PulseChain that has better marketing than what pTGC has. Like all the top marketers, all the people who get the most eyes, pretty much are either in pTGC or talk about pTGC. So it's not PulseChain. If Richard Hart comes back and starts streaming and PulseChain were to do a 10x, I would say that pTGC would do like a 50x from there.
Yeah.
If Richard Hart decides not to stream and just does his regular thing and he gives PulseChain a 10x, I think pTGC does a 100x from there. And the reason why is because it's all about the attention economy. So if he's not getting the attention economy on YouTube and on Twitter, on X, and all these different platforms where all the crypto people are at, it's going to go to pTGC, all of it. If he comes back and streams, a portion of that is going to go back into pTGC, and it's still going to be a massive amount. So that's why I say it's an attention-getting economy that we're in, and it's 100%, in my opinion. If PulseChain goes back to SAC, I want to give it 10 cents. I say if it goes back to SAC, I think pTGC does anywhere from, I would say, 25 to 50x. And if Richard Hart is streaming. If he's not streaming, we're going to get all the attention, 1,000%. 100x. All that value is coming to pTGC. Because there's no marketing. Like, I look at a lot of these guys marketing, and I'm just like, yeah, you're not going to get the attention. You don't even know how to get the attention. Like, you're streaming amongst your own echo chamber. You just got to realize, I said it last week or 2 weeks ago, we need to go outside of the echo chamber and grow that way. If you stick within the echo chamber, you will not grow. Point blank. It's tapped out. If you're streaming or tweeting or talking to people about the same stuff, they aren't growing, which means you aren't growing, which means if you step outside of that echo chamber, you're going to be in the algorithm more. You're also going to be, people are going to look at you as not this like nasty type when they come over. So they know how to, go from one to the other. So I do think that we got the best marketing. We got the best videos. We got the best hype. On PulseChain, period. That's simple. It would be nice if Richard Hart comes back and stream. It would be amazing. It would be amazing. It would definitely help everybody's bags. But I think if he decides to grow this platform without streaming, I think pTGC will get the best. And I think everyone knows that. Everyone recognizes that. Whether you're in, you know that and recognize that. If you're outside and don't own anything and you're creeping for a reason. The reason why you're creeping is because you know that to be a fact. So all we have to do is execute and get Richard Hart to do something.
I'd also just add too, I'm in spaces a lot too, creeping around, just listening to, not just on PulseChain, but just in general. But in general on PulseChain, there's a, and this isn't a broad statement. You don't ever want to broad brush everybody because that's not a fair thing to do. But in general, most PulseChain stuff, there's no professionalism. There's no class. There's a bunch of racist talk. There's nothing but just pump and dumper things going on, if even that. So on top of that, you've got Grace with over 2 years of just a great founder, an amazing kind of ambassador in myself, yourself, Prairie, and the people who've been showing up, professionals. Some people might not like B-Roots, but I'm going to tell you right now, B-Roots is a champion of PulseChain. He's a PulseChain champion. He's brought more money, more eyeballs, more adoption, more pumps on the chain, made people more money on the chain than anybody else on the chain, whether you like him or not.
Including Richard Hart.
Including Richard Hart. And that's just a fact, guys. It doesn't have to be, some ideology or some religion. It's just a reality. From the PDI to Teddy.
Really, that's important to bring up. Even if you're not in B's plays, he's bringing fresh value to PulseChain. Any play that he's talking about on PulseChain, the user that comes in from other chains has to get PulseChain first. So he's helping everyone's backs.
Yeah, and I'm just saying. I think Zen, I had a post I was going to put out last night, but I didn't push it through because I got distracted. But you have been phenomenal as a founder. Through all of the PvP, all of the attacks from inside, from outside. When you should have been pushing back, you didn't because you just have too much class. And
There you go.
You're a humble person. As a founder, you're a perfect founder, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And that shows. People, I've never heard one person ever say one bad thing about Zen.
Whoa.
No one. On
That
any
is-
space.
That is
Not
true.
one time. I've literally never heard one human being on PulseChain speak a bad word about you. And, that's important to me because they can speak a bad word about me. They can speak a bad word about B or whoever else. But the founder has been a solid rock for the community, showing up every day, thick and thin, rain or shine. And I do think that once this chain hits the bottom, pTGC is going to be the thing that turns up fastest because that's what the machine does.
Yep.
And there's too many eyeballs waiting for it to bottom for that not to actually happen. There's too many.
They will actually push it higher. They're going to push it higher because everyone waits for the last second. So I guarantee you this. I shouldn't say that. Let me take that back.
No guarantee.
Let me take that back. Anyone listening to this recorded says, unwiped guarantee from this sentence.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, those people are waiting now. They didn't even have the balls to do it at 25 mil market cap. So in my opinion, there is a psychological number that is so hard for individuals to really comprehend in crypto. Those numbers are 10 million market cap, 25 million market cap, 30 million market cap, $50 million market cap, 100.
Whoa. Okay.
Look what we did in Bitcoin when the 100 was lost. Everybody freaked out. If Bitcoin were to go back to 50, those people would freak out even more. When Bitcoin lost 50 in the last bull market, it was over. But where did it go to? It went to 30,000 market cap, or $30,000 per coin. So it went to $30,000 per coin. What happened right away once it established that $30,000 per coin? Everyone thought it's over. It's going. This is the bear market. Blah blah blah. It went right back over 50. And what happened when it got over 50? It created a new all-time high because everybody that did not get in 30 ate in at 50, and that was the all-time high for Bitcoin, and they leveraged that bad boy back down. What happened when 100 was established? Everybody and their mom is talking about Bitcoin. It's going to $2 million. So those numbers are very, very, very in crypto. I don't know why, but in crypto, those those numbers are huge, and I can tell you with Hex, where did Hex go to? 50 cents. What happened? It dropped down to close to a little bit over 30 cents. And then it went back up, and everyone was talking about, we're going to light the candles at $1. Why $1? That's that 100. Everyone's talking about $1, blah, 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 blah. And then it didn't. And guess what happened? Once it lost 30, people started losing their minds. And then 20, and then people were like, oh, this is where we bounce, and we go that way. And then 20 got lost, and then 10 cents got lost. 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, or $1.
Wow.
Guess where we're sitting at right now? 30.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who's creeping like no other? We're starting to see people start creeping in. But those guys are scared to buy. Why are they scared to buy?
Right.
Because they're scared to buy because they think 25 could turn into 20, and they look stupid. So they definitely don't want to buy and start talking about it. No. They need confidence. They'll wait till like 50. They're up at 2x, and then they'll start talking about how bullish it is and how great it is. But they're watching, they're creeping because they're not confident in the PulseChain price. And I know every single one of you guys in here just think, I don't know, man. It sounds like a fair, but you're all on the same page. It's time to be opposite of you because that's what you guys think. And that's what I'm doing. I'm actually opposite now because I think too many people think they know and they truly don't know. So those guys that are looking at 25, they're creeping right now. 30, 25, 30, 25, 30, 30, 25, 30, 25, 30. What's going to be 20, 30, 30? When it gets to 50, those 25 guys that are creeping are going to pump the price to 100 so fast because they missed the 25 vote again. That is crypto. That happens every single time. And the I told you so will be great. Literally chop up this message and 100% save it for later because I'm telling you, when it happens, the 50 to 100 is going to be extremely fast.
Wow.
Because too many people are looking at 25, 30. Can I get 15? Can I get 10? Hell no, you ain't getting that.
I think too, maybe you can speak to this. A lot of people think that like if if the market's going into a downtrend that like it's over, right? That's just not ever true. There's always people with money on any chain that are looking to enter into whatever that they're interested in and want to speculate on. And they have their levels, right? Even on PulseChain, there are people with a lot of money that recognize certain assets and what they actually are and want to speculate on them for the future.
Yeah, I think that people are going to be. I do think everyone's always. I say this all the time, especially to my subscribers. Subscribers know this, and I'm not going to give you all the alpha, but I'm going to give you a quote that I've been saying for years. Be a genius if you're right. Be a genius if you're wrong. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to be a genius if you're right and to be a genius if you're wrong when the price is going up. But 9 out of 10 people don't know how to be a genius if they're right and be a genius if they're wrong when the price is going down. If you guys sit there and think about that for a second, you just can't figure what I just said, crypto ain't for you.
I think a lot of people have already done the whole be a genius if you're wrong thing already.
Well, no. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, people don't get it on the downside. They get it on the upside. Exactly. It makes sense on the upside. It doesn't make sense on the downside to them. Because fear kicks in. And the fear is like, nah, I can't do that. Nah, it's over. Nah. There is no be a genius. When it's going, the price is going up, yeah, let me slay some off. I'm winning. Give me some of that. Give me some of that. When it's going down, it's like, Nah. I'm just gonna be right because it could be the wrong answer. I think it's over. That could be the wrong answer. So where's the be the genius if you're right, be a genius if you're wrong at? What about, I'm going to deploy some of this, but then I might wait just in case it goes a little lower. That's a being a genius if you're right, be a genius if you're wrong. Completely makes sense. I got $100 and I'm gonna put in 50 now just in case I'm wrong. I think it's going down, but just in case I'm wrong, let me just put 50 bucks. There you go. And if I'm right, guess what? I got another 50 bucks. So much easier to do it when it's going up or it's going down. When it's going down, it's, nah, man, I'm going to get the bottom. Or they pick a number. That's the worst. That's the worst thing you can do. Going up or down, they pick a number. How many of you were like, oh, man, when it hits $500 million market cap, I'm going to take profit. Rat. How many down here are like, oh, when it hits $10 million market cap, I'm going to buy in. Rat. How many times you guys were like, oh, Richard Hart said 10K and lower. I'm not going to listen to Moon King B. Bruce because he said 17 is the low. Rat. Be a genius if you're right. Be a genius if you're wrong. Because I had money to deploy at 17, and guess what? If it went to $10,000 Bitcoin, I had money to deploy then too. But when it confirmed that it wasn't going back to $10,000 market cap, what did I do? The right thing. I deployed everything. And it went. So many other people thought that exact same thing. And how fast did it go up? Now you understand what I say. When those people see it go from 30 mil market cap to 50, they will deploy everything because they have no choice or they will be left behind. It will go from 50 to 100 so fast, and you'll be like, damn, we're already up a 3.5x from where we're at, right? Or where we were just talking last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever it decides to go. It will happen fast. It will be a V bottom, and you're going to be like, damn. People will be cheering. And those people, when you go from a $50 million market cap to a $1 billion market cap, let me tell you the difference. 1 billion divided by 25 million, which you could have gotten, is a 40x. 1 billion divided by the 50 million market cap that you probably will get in once you realize that it's go time, is a 20x. Your $1,000 is $20,000 versus your $1,000 is $40,000. But guess what? When it goes to 1 billion to 2 billion, how easy is it to do that 2x? Very easy. Very easy to go 1 to 2. Guess what the difference is? 80-40. Yep. Big difference now. Your gains make a big difference right now as we speak. So if you're thinking about how much lower I can get, that's where the greed kicks in. You better make the right choice, because if you don't make the right choice, the difference between a 20x and a 40x is massive in your portfolio. Imagine if it finally gets to $1 million in your portfolio, but instead of $1 million, it's $2 million. Big difference, isn't it? Do you have $1 million in your pocket, in your wallet, in your bank account right now? You probably don't. So what if I decide just to give you an extra $1 million for the decision that you make today? Oh, what happens when it goes to 2 to 4? Woo. You ever see numbers jump up so fast? I have. It's called Shiba Inu, and it goes up so fast when those doubles really happen. When it gets to the billions, when I saw a $1 billion market cap, I was like, oh my goodness. And then with the $2 billion market, I said, wow. Then with the 4, I was like, oh crap. Then 8, then jeez, what the heck's going on? 10 billion, damn, this is crazy. 20 billion, let's keep going. You know the difference between 20 billion and 1 billion? A 20x of 6, 7 figures. Learn the game of multiples. You're playing with fire at these levels.
Yeah, real quick. I threw it in our TG just because I didn't know how to throw the picture above. But November last year, we were around a 30 mil market cap, and it went to 140 mil in a matter of a month.
Oh, when it's time, it's going to happen fast. It ain't going to be quick. You don't have time to blink. And you know what happens at 50 mil market cap? There'll be a slight little sell-off, 100%. Because you're going to get those people like, oh, I got my money back. I already know it's going to happen. Prepare for it to happen. It's going to happen. It'll probably go from 50 to 40. And you know what those people are going to say that sold? I'm going to buy it back at 25, 30. Ooh. And then what happens? Those people that were looking to get in that 30, 25, they find that little discount that they can get it at 40. And guess what they do? They deploy. And then guess what that person that sold off at 50 does? Get wrecked. And then they'll say, well, I took my profit, blah, blah, I feel good. You ain't going to feel good when it says 330 again. You ain't going to feel good when it says 1 billion. You ain't going to feel good when it says 2 billion. I promise you ain't going to feel good. No matter how much money it is, you ain't going to feel good. I retired on money. It did another 10x, and I was like, damn.
Yeah, I remember
4 years later, I still talk about it.
You're like, damn, if I
at 25 million market cap, at 25 million market cap, I promise you will be saying, you will be coping. I'm letting you know from experience, you will cope. No matter how much money you grab out of it, you're gonna be like, damn, it could have been that too. Sheesh.
Always leave that boom bang.
So, like, that's what happens. That 50, that 30, we're at that level where it's decision time. And that's what happens. You're going to have to make a decision. You have to make a choice. And when it changes pace and goes the other way, I won't say when, I'm going to say if. I won't put that in there. I want no guarantees. You said when. If it turns around, it will go fast. It won't be quick. You won't have time to watch. Probably. Most likely, it's going to happen when you're sleeping. That's the worst.
Yeah.
B, let me ask you something. What do you think is this is a broader market that will kind of dovetail into pTGC, but what do you think is like worst case scenario for a Bitcoin bottom? Just off the top, like you don't got to go into like subscriber details, but are we talking going back down to like the 65,000 range or lower than that, or what do you think?
It's possible, but without too much information, we're going down way too fast.
That's what I thought yesterday when I made my post, man. It feels way too fast for a normal market cycle, and there was no.
And most gives you bounces. And the bounces, what the bounces do, the bounces give people to deploy more, but they end up being X liquidity, and then they use that to sell it off again. When it just goes straight down, like that's borderline V-bottom type things because nothing just goes straight down. This monthly candle is a very long, drawn out bottom. Once 100 gave out, it just started going too fast. I do think a lot of it is FUD toward, I made a video about this and nobody still talks about this
the MicroStrategy thing?
No. No one talks about the fork that's happening with Bitcoin. Probably happening in March time. So you got two sides of Bitcoin that are being like going head to head with each other on what to do with the mining. And no one talks about this again, but the mining is an issue because it basically is 123,000. The miners are expecting price to be about 123,000 right now. And obviously the price is down here. So if the miners turn off, there is a miner capitulation. Well, I've been talking about this literally for almost 2 years now. Subscribers, there's a play in the book. There's a play I've been talking about that literally has this exact thing that just popped up today. And so this is also the reason why Zcash is mooning. And it's not because of privacy, blah, blah, blah. There's two reasons why Zcash is mooning. One, I will not give the full reason because that is a subscriber only thing. but the other is the miner situation. So there is another play in the book for that. But these are all giving the fear monger, but it's happening way too fast to the point where big players are going to step in. And the fact that, it's just when you just say, on the traditional market, when you say literally last month the price was at 126,000, and right now it's sitting at 70,000, they're gonna just salivate over that. Crypto, maybe not. We're used to this, but when they see it, they're like, "Wait a second! You tell me a month ago it was at this price? Yeah, give me some of that."
Well, when you've got Woods talking about, and all the biggest players talking about, Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million, millions of dollars, and you get down to pre-2022 Bitcoin having numbers, 64,900 was
It's a 2x.
Yeah,
That's a 2x basically. So once again, we talked about multiple. You basically just got a free 2x on your money right now. If you want Bitcoin, you should be lining up, salivating on a free 2x on the amount that you were going to pull literally a month ago.
But my bigger point was that bigger money they don't sit there trying to literally buy the Uber bottom, just like people never sell the Uber top, because they have so much money they don't need to bullshit themselves over trying to call it on the day, right? They're going to just find that level of value and just start buying into that, and then they've just killed it, right?
Yeah. So that's why I say, it'll probably. Yeah, that's it. That's all I want to give it. There's some thoughts I do have, but I can't give all that stuff away for free. So that's not what I base my my model on. I've been holding myself from giving away too much free information. But yeah, man, it's happening too fast. And then too many people do. You need to get outside of the ecosystem to really be aware of what's going on. And I say this about Richard Hart all the time. Say FUD all you want, but he's detached from the cryptocurrency ecosystem by a lot. You can tell that. You can tell that by the timing of when he does different things. In my opinion. So I just even the sacrifice, his timing's off. It's like, man, Jerry had that, it's been running for 2 months now, and you're just not getting on board with that. Meme coins, you're just not getting on board with that. It's like he's a little late. But I think that's because he doesn't surround himself by people anymore that are, outside the ecosystem. So what happens when you're outside the ecosystem, you only react when things are already pumped. And it's like, you're late. And the reason why you're late is because you're not interacting with everybody else that might be already in there, that's been talking Zcash all this time, that's been talking meme coins all this time, that's been talking L2s versus L1s all this time. There's bull runs that's happening on base. Everybody's like, there's no bull run. It's because you're not fucking outside the ecosystem. Base has been in the bull run for Ethereum. That's the real reason the Ethereum fees are low. It's because everything's just switched on base. If you don't know that, that means you need to get outside the ecosystem and figure out what's going on in your own industry. So, when I see stuff like that, it's just that's why I say get out of the echo chamber. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to invest. Absolutely doesn't mean you need to invest. But you need to know what's going on. That takes a real champion to do that. That takes the beast mode. If only Michael Jordan was just all about himself, which he was, but he knew his opponent. He knew what his opponent was going to do before he even did it. How did he do that? He studied film. What is study film? That's you acknowledging that you don't know what the next move is or what this person's going to do, so therefore you study it so you can react to it. Every major sports player does that. Every great is a film watcher. They'll spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on film, not on just themselves, but on other people. At the collegiate level, I would watch my practices, but not even like just, I had to sit there in the dark room and watch my full practice of 2.5 hours, play by play by play by play. And then the opponent that you have, we would watch another hour and a half of every play that they did the week before. And then they did it over and over and over and over again. And everyone all sees just the guys that go out there on the field on Saturday and Sunday night and be like, oh man, he's amazing. But they have no idea what they did from Monday through Friday.
Right.
They have no idea. They literally sat and filmed and studied what the market was doing before it even does it. So when I sit there and say, oh, I'm not calling for meme coins to be the main thing, I'm calling for AI to do it, and you're like, well, you're the meme coin guy. You're like, how are you doing looking at utility coins? Yeah, you just don't get it. I called meme coins before meme coins were hot. When we were doing Shield Tank 2.5 years ago, me and Ian was like, bro, all these AI coins, it's probably like these bots and all these Telegram bots are coming up to, it's probably what the market's going to. A year later, what was the hottest thing? AI agent. The agent will do this for your bot on Telegram, blah, 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 blah. That's studying the market. That's understanding what the market is bringing to you. So therefore, when you see it happening and you see it happen over and over and over again with different narratives, you can figure out what's actually going to be hot. And I can't guarantee you're going to hit, but the chances of you hitting is way better chances of that guy just sitting there like, Richard, what are you going to do? Richard, like, it's like, so even Richard himself, that's constructive criticism on him himself. I can tell that he doesn't even do that at that level because he's like a little late to the game. When with Hex, he was like, that dude was like before his time. He was in the game. And by nature, that was from streaming. That was from talking to people. That was from seeing the conversations in the comment section. And therefore, you can come up with these ideas based off what other people say and what people do. And therefore, he comes up with something bigger before the market even comes in. And then when the market comes to it, you're like, boom, I've already hit that. 10,000X, what you got to say, mofo? So you got to be before the game. You got to get out there. You got to understand what's going on. If you don't know the reason why Bitcoin is actually dropping is because of the soft fork that's happening, or they're looking at doing it in March, you are not doing this game right. You are going to lose. Especially now, because big boys are in. And I always said the last hurrah, you better be on your top of your game, because this is the last hurrah. Because once the big boys get in, you got to learn how to front run the big boys. And guess what? You front run them already if you're in crypto pre-2023. But if you're not playing the game right and you're just sitting there depending on other people, you're going to lose. So I think pTGC was before its time. Why? Because it's a yield thing. Mm-hmm. If your coin's not making yield, you actually aren't with the market right now. That's what all these guys are talking about. Yield. Your coin better make money for me. If your coin ain't making money for me, it's just vaporware. We don't want that shit. And that's what happened. Meme coins kind of went away. And then WLFI came out. It was more about yield and stuff like that. So when I see Richard Hart stake his Hex for 15 years, yeah, bro, like, do you understand what you just did? You literally just went against the narrative that everybody, freaking major industry in crypto has been talking about. pTGC benefits from that. What happens? All the Hex whales start coming into pTGC. Some of the biggest whales you don't even probably know about, they're in pTGC as soon as it happens. Why? Because they're yield people. But guess what everyone else is talking about? Yield. What's the biggest yield play on PulseChain? pTGC. If pTGC even gets this, or PulseChain even gets the slightest adoption, guess where everyone's going to go to? pTGC. Why? Because of yield. Why yield? Because that's what the big boys are talking about. It's that simple. Better learn the game, better be able to be first before the game, or you're just going to be a player in the game, and one day it's going to be game over for you.
Yeah, I think it's also important to kind of recognize where that yield is coming from, because it definitely seems like going forward, deflation is going to have a bigger part in cryptocurrency, at least supply control to an extent, like just not letting things be extremely inflationary and at least having some sort of supply control or deflationary tokenomics built into it, which is also pTGC. And then the question of where is that yield coming from? You're kind of making the comment about AI and bots, and that's one thing, I think that stands out about pTGC is that it's 2 years ahead of that curve right now because we utilize the bots to generate the revenue to pay the yield.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna get surprised. It's gonna happen quick, man. So it's the downside feels very drawn out, and then the quick side. Like at the end of the day, you do all this from crypto in 4 or 5 years just for like 6 months of gains. It's crazy. So, but the difference is if you're in a winner, yeah, you can wait 8 years for 12 months of gains because the difference between that is massively and drastic. Like it's stupid. So, learning the lesson, I gotta get going because I've got a new nanny that just flew in, and I need to teach her how to drive. So, if you're in the Dallas area, get off the streets. I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, at the end of the day, learn how multiplying works and how it benefits you. Number 2, that goes for market caps. I want you to do some homework, everyone that's out there, and just look at the market caps of 25, 30, 50, 100, or $1, depending on the price of the token. You can look at Bitcoin, you'll see it. You can look at Hex, you'll see it. Any random coin, you'll see it. Go on Solana right now, pick a coin that has topped out, and look where it topped out. You'll see it. We are at that level right now, sitting at 30 with pTGC, and it keeps recovering and gets back over. It loves that 30 mil market cap, and once it establishes it, see what happens to coins when they establish it. You'll see it. So learn the multiplications, because the difference between that and a 2x, what happens so fast, it's not even fun. All PulseChain has to do is go back to what, 3? 4 zeros and 3? How pathetic is that? Like, PulseChain goes back to 4 zeros and 3, pTGC is over 50 million. It's going that fast, bam. Literally, 4 zeros and 3, like that's a joke. We all know that's a joke. But that fast, pTGC is at a 50 million market cap. It goes back to 4 zeros and a 6, 100, 150, boom, that fast. And you're sitting at 30. So, if you think pTGC or PulseChain is going to lose a 0, you're flirting with fire. Be a genius if you're right, be a genius if you're wrong. I gotta get out of here. Peace.
CFB, hope you have a beater car if you're teaching someone how to drive. You're not putting her in the cyber.
It's brand new. Just bought that bad boy 6 months ago.
You're putting her in.
I have nothing under a 2020 household, man. I can't.
That's pretty risky.
I know.
In a week or so, B's going to be posting his cyber truck just beat up.
Oh, she ain't driving that.
No.
Hell no. If she's driving that, she gonna put that boy in full self-driving mode. She's not allowed to touch the steering wheel. I trust AI for that.
Thanks for coming in, B. Appreciate you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for anyone listening, if you're in our TG, I threw last year the chart when we broke out of the 30 mil market cap range, and within 1 month we shot up to like 150. Again, like a pretty whole number, like B-Roots was talking about. 50s, 150s, 200, 100, and it happened like in a month. So I threw that in the chat just for a previous example of that happening. We saw pTGC break out of the 30, obviously when PulseChain was kind of moving up with us, and it went up to 150 pretty quick, which is a 5x.
I gotta tell you though, if you guys are here and you guys have been here for a while on the journey with pTGC, and you rode up to where we went up to at all-time highs, and you're still here, man, I gotta give you guys kudos. You guys are showing some OG diamond hands.
Yeah.
Real community diamond hands. You guys know what the potential is for the token. You know, it's not easy to do what the top 100 have done, because we've watched the wallets, and the large majority of the top 50, like the post said yesterday, they ain't selling. Up to this point, lost a few, but to be sitting on that kind of value and not be willing to sell on PulseChain, that's pretty impressive, Zen. I mean, wouldn't you say it'd be one thing if we were on ETH or if we were on Solana and you had a solid play for 2.5 years, but to be holding on PulseChain an asset this long, it shows, man, that people see something very different in what you've built.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that really stands out for the pTGC community, because most other communities on PulseChain can't say the same just due to them not having the experience. We have the time, right? Which that's a big thing, is if your diamond hand, if your big players are willing to wait and be in the protocol long term. Most people aren't even willing to be in an asset for more than a week, a month, let alone 2 years. So we have community members that have been here grinding for 2+ years. We have community members that have seen 90% dips budge. We've seen community members that have seen 50x moves, you know, from the lows to the highs. This happened last year. They don't budge. You know, so what other thing do they have to be tested in to show that they're diamond hands? They've done the time, they've done X's to the positive side, they've done retracements, 90%. They've been tested every which way you could imagine. And I think it's pretty clear that, you know, a large portion of their portfolios are long-term in the community. You know, I don't think you could ask them to hold on to their entire bag forever, but it definitely seems like the top 50 to top 100, a good portion of them actually want to use the product for what it's designed to be built for, which is, you know, long-term store of value, which pays you APY based on your bag size. And as your bag grows, obviously your APY will, because the amount of capital working for you via the bots we're kind of just talking about, it's going to pay you a higher APY, because now the bots will need to move more money to fix prices. And if a bot needs to move $50,000, $1,000, well, now we get to make 10% on $50,000. That means we get to generate $5,000 off of that movement instead of $500. And I think a lot of our long-term players really understand this concept, and they believe in PulseChain long-term. So definitely the volatility, the time, you know, price going up and then coming back down to these levels is part of the plan. Everything everyone wanted, especially 2 years going on PulseChain, but they're willing to sit it out. They're willing to go through all these and then as we get through these hurdles, it's just it's creating the situation where our holders are so strong. I don't even know what would change their mind at this point. PulseChain has thrown everything you could imagine at us: the time schedule, the high ups, the high downs, literally hundreds of copycat products trying to attack the pTGC protocol. Like, they've been able to pretty much weather any. We're still sitting here strong. And when the environment flips in our favor, I think they're going to remain strong to withstand the worst environment. So what happens when everything kind of starts checking the boxes of the environment we thought PulseChain was going to be? New users actually coming into the chain, volume and volatility throughout the assets on the chain. On top of that price appreciation, the APY will obviously increase, making it to where these users don't need to tap into as much of their initial to, benefit from crypto in real life. Because I think that's what a lot of people are in this asset for, or in any asset for, is to, improve their lifestyle in real life. But you can actually do that without tapping into any, or if not a lot, of your initial. And by not tapping into your initial, you're making the product stronger for more price appreciation, making it so it pays you even more passive income, and it makes the value generation of the machine stronger and all stuff. That compounding effect we've seen a few times now. We've seen what the pTGC machine does with just a flick up of PulseChain. That's why we were able to do 50x moves, 60x when PulseChain was doing 3 to 4x moves. So I think everyone's just kind of prepping for hopefully this next move, and hopefully those levels sustain on PulseChain. Distribution of pTGC and UFO are so strong now. Like, think about, a lot of people thought the big move on PulseChain was this time last year. When Trump was coming into office, a lot of people thought the high of the bulls would be in April. It's a whole nother year now. pTGC and UFO has generated roughly $9 million in the last year as far as products go. Think about all the distribution that has gone in and throughout that time. That move on pTGC is so much more sustainable moving forward.
Yeah, I just can't get over the fact that, we're almost at damn near $500 million market cap, and zero help from Richard Hart. Zero help from, the cores that we're associated with whatsoever, right? I mean, just been down chart. Just imagine this machine, man, when, if you get a little help by God's grace, you get a little help.
Yeah, I truly believe top 30 of cryptocurrency is in the cards with help of PulseChain. A grassroots protocol, that's, I think, more sustainable than most of the things in the top 30 already. You look at the things in the top 30, and some of them have businesses behind them that have tons of overhead where a lot of the value generation doesn't even go to the product. Or you have some somewhat grassroots meme tokens, but they don't generate any revenue. So the only growth that they receive, sustainability that they receive, is just onboarding new people. They're not paying their holders APY. They're not deflationary. They don't have the ability to pivot with each cycle. And that's why you kind of always see that inflow of assets kind of making it to the top 100. But by the time you get to the next cycle, half of those have been replaced by whatever the new trends are, and most likely by the high of this cycle, some of the tokens from last cycle will be replaced. I think by the design of pTGC, how we can constantly pivot with the ever-evolving cryptocurrency market, this will help us solidify our place in that top group of assets, because we can continuously grow and continuously evolve with as crypto. Just as far as the index of pTGC goes, how we compare with assets that come out, as long as it's an EVM asset and it can be bridged into PulseChain, we can add this asset to the liquidity web of pTGC. This could be 8 years down the road, and things in crypto, just any, if we want that to be included in part of our ecosystem, as long as it's EVM and it can be brought over to PulseChain, we can include that to our community. It could get to the point where if you have a position in the grays, you don't even need to speculate on anything new worth of value ever, because we have the ability to expose our community to it via the DAO, just like how we'll expose our community to Prove It comes out. And not just expose them, generate revenue off of it too. So making their asset more scarce and also paying those users APY. Not only exposure, but rewards as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, last week I said on the Saturday VC Prairie. You remember I said I was going to make a little side bag and start doing a little swing trading and just adding to my pTGC bag?
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, so I haven't had a lot of time this week, but I'm at 4 million pTGC right now.
Yeah. Good job, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, started with about $1,000 in there.
Uh-huh.
So I haven't lost any money, and I've added 4 million to the stack.
Yeah, man, that's four just in case bags right there.
Just pressing a couple buttons. So you don't have to bet the farm to buy a farm. You just have to be willing to have a little fun on the chain, and if you're able to do that, just start stacking pTGC for free. Just have a little fun degenning on the chain. So yeah, I'd be interested to see, whether there's a size of this bag by the time we get a turnaround. It'd be interesting.
Yeah. That reminds me of your experiment, Zen, the UFO LP experiment.
Oh yeah, that experiment's not doing super hot right now. It's still in profits. Obviously just due to the UFO in there. All the Richard tokens that are bonded in LP with are like 50% down from the creation. But I think that showcases the power of the Grays. If that wallet was just in RH tokens, that $30,000 would be at $15,000 very easily right now. But it's still in profits because of the exposure to UFO.
Yeah.
And that exposure is price appreciation of UFO, creating that diversification, not only in RH cores, but also adding diversification to the Grays ecosystem. So that's evening out the portfolio. But also, all that value has been working for the last year. So we've been earning APY for the last year off of that $30,000. I think I've earned roughly like $10,000 in APY since the creation of that wallet in PLS terms. So
how much in APY?
I think roughly $10,000.
Damn, that's not bad though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a little bit down now because I took that PLS and turned it into UFO, and it's came down a little bit. But as far as when I was like claiming the PLS and stuff like that, I think it was roughly $10,000 throughout the few claims that I did. I don't know the exact numbers though, but I think that's a good example of hey, we're here, and we have ways for your assets to be working for you, to where you can be earning on your, to just be sitting in your wallet doing nothing. With PulseChain assets in the last year or so, you're down like 50% and you earn no APY, where by having some exposure in this wallet, the example was not complete exposure to UFO. It was partial exposure, to where some of the assets that I bridged in, the $30,000, got switched over to UFO. And then I also created a group. I pretty much added LP with every single RH ticker. So a little bit of UFO LP with Pulse, PulseX, Hex, Inc, eHex, and then just started farming with it. So I'm earning PLS rewards there. I'm also getting UFO reflection strips just from the liquid UFO I have in that wallet. And again, all the RH tickers are like 50% down. So that's been a lot of the down pool to this. We're still in positive and we're still earning APY at these low levels via the exposure to UFO.
So I wanted to ask you just real quick. I'm seeing that the DAO still has billions and billions of PulseChain, which is awesome. It's also accumulated, it looks like in the last week and a half, well over 1 billion pTGC, which is freaking awesome.
Shoot.
That's a lot of pTGC.
Yes.
Yeah. That's one thing worth really highlighting, I think, Mando.
Well, let me just finish real quick before you comment on that. I'm also seeing almost 15 G's in stables now, which I really like. And so I was just, that's great. I just wondered if you could just comment on that real quick. Because I think that having stables, the industry, just so you know, I mean, the broader industry, the number one thing in the industry is stables right now, right? So the fact that the Dow is mimicking, you know, Fortune 500 companies and the big dogs, I like that.
Yeah, I think the stables kind of goes to what B Roots was saying, you know, the right if you're right if you're wrong thing. If PulseChain here, you know, obviously all of our liquidity was RH tickers. We have billions of PLS in that Dow. We win super hard in PulseChain moving up from here. If we have PulseChain, let's say, go a little bit lower, or even the general market go lower, we have a little bit of exposure to stables to where we could capitalize with those stables on either scooping up some PLS cheaper or just using those stables to buy pTGC at an extreme discount, just like, you know, we think the opportunity is in front of us right at the moment. So just the, you know, whatever way the market goes, we can capitalize on it, I think is a big thing. And even if PulseChain starts running up from here and we're sitting on stables, well, eventually we do want stable LP anyways, so we can just get that added to LP with pTGC and start working on the stablecoin liquidity with pTGC at higher prices, which will be a great asset to the web. We've been talking about that for a while now, getting, you know, stablecoin liquidity going. So then when the market does its shifts and we know all of RH tickers move together because of bond and liquidity, we know that stablecoin will stay relative to where it will become a good place for us to bounce the bots can constantly fix off of, and it will be a good revenue generation source for us. So just kind of prepping for whatever gets thrown at us here on PulseChain. Obviously, Richard's been throwing a few curveballs, and we're just trying to be proactive with those curveballs, knowing that, you know, whatever is a possibility at this point. Yeah, and then 1 billion pTGC has been bought off the market in the last week and a half. That's a lot of pTGC.
Yeah,
That's a lot of pTGC that we've been able to scoop up at some of the lowest ratios against PulseChain that we've seen in over a year. So the Dow is capitalizing on the fact that we haven't been at this 5-to-1 ratio in over a year in pTGC. So these are the best pTGC buying opportunities that our Dow has actually been able to take action on in a year. And, you know, you can see obviously 1 billion pTGC taken off the market if that's going to buy and burns or getting put into LP. The most important part is the Dow isn't going to spend it. So yes, a user, if it gets put into LP, can technically buy it and then sell it again, but we're not going to sell it, right? So
no, that's off the market. That's off the market stuff. That's what I like about it. It's off the market, man. You know. But I just want to tell you, I think that Stables is great right here, and I think that Stables just empowers this protocol big time right here. You know, taking that revenue and putting it into some stables and having the exposure to PulseChain, plus having that solid rock of stables, plus the rev. I think last night I saw there was almost 200 million in Pulse. I think a proposal pulled another 100 million, put it in stables yesterday. But I like what I'm seeing is what I'm saying, Zen. I like what's happening here in terms of the strategy. It's a solidifying strategy for sure.
Yeah, again, I think it highlights the pivotability of our ecosystem in a realized way. You know, obviously, I think these prices down here for PulseChain is not something I saw coming 2.5 years after PulseChain's launched, hitting all-time lows. Also, a curveball of a sacrifice at this point on PulseChain and what that could do to PulseChain. You know, we're seeing it's forcing PulseChain into all-time low levels. And we're able to take advantage of these all-time lows at strategic points. For an example, we've saved up this pulse that we're using to do buy and burns from when we're at higher ratios, to where if the code used that pulse automatically, which we do have portions of the code that does, we would be getting less pTGC for that value. And we actually strategically waited until we saw these ranges, this 5-to-1 range that we think is a steal. And we've been able to take, like you said, 1 billion pTGC off the market, which is not, guys. Like, I think, Banana, maybe you can pull up what that's worth today. But at all-time highs, it's
like 13x that. And I don't a world where we don't get back to our all-time highs. Obviously, nothing is guaranteed, but the fact that we were able to hit those highs with PulseChain at 4 zeros a 6, I do think PulseChain could be successful. I think pTGC is going to be one of the most successful tokens on the chain, and we'll blow past those all-time highs. And the fact that we've been able to take 1 billion tokens off the market during this dip is crazy.
1 billion pTGC is over 100,000. That's 3+ sharp
highs,
positions.
Yeah, so at all-time highs, that's $1.3 million of pTGC taken off the market.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
That's some good. That'll be some great advertising.
Turn around, bro. And the thing I like about it a lot too is that when you want to add to the web new revenue centers with LP, you got to have pTGC, right? So the best time to buy pTGC is when people are selling it into the lows, man.
Yeah, and best ratio, best bang for the buck. PLS to pTGC ratio, we're at the best we've seen in over a year. And the DAO's taking advantage of it. And even if it's not used for LP right this second, we will need that pTGC in the future for LPs. And might as well get it.
For example, like if we do a ProveX LP, you're going to need it.
Yep. Yeah, if it later in the market, if we want a big LP pool with stables, we're going to need it. Any liquidity add pretty much in the future, since 100 pTGC tokens are in circulation, we need pTGC. And if we don't buy it at the bottoms, we'll have to buy it at any point to create those LPs.
Yeah, man, I'm liking the strategies right now. I'm liking the capital deployment and what's going on with the revenue. Definitely forward looking. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's not even to mention we've been able to buy and burn like 300 million pTGC. Again, dollar-wise maybe isn't extremely impressive right here because price has been moving down this entire month. But almost 400 million pTGC has been bought and burnt in the last month. Point more is, it's not always so much about what that's worth today, but what that's worth in the future when we get to these levels that we know we're going to get to with the success of PulseChain and, with us just doing our thing, our community onboarding, our automatic functions with them. That's $40,000 now, but times that by $400,000, times it by 13, we're roughly at $500,000 of pTGC bought and burnt in the last month. If PulseChain and pTGC goes back to its all-time highs. And I think, it's important to realize the way to be exposed to all this. And that's by owning pTGC. The only way you get exposed to all this buy and burn action, the fact that there's more value going into the LP, but less tokens having to share it. The only way you're going to be exposed to the constant liquidity ads, if that's with stables, if that's with ProveX, is by owning pTGC. And one of the best prices against PulseChain and against dollar value in over a year right now. Also APY. You're exposed to APY as well.
Mm-hmm.
You got anything on YouTube, Banana?
No, nothing on YouTube.
One thing I'm looking at too is the difference in slippage between pTGC and UFO. It's interesting because if I try to sell 102,000 or buy 102,000 of UFO, it's about 10.5% slippage. If I try to do the same thing with pTGC, it's about 14.9%.
What? Doesn't make sense.
So that just represents, the thickness of the LP pools. But you've got that massive UFO LP that's also connected to pTGC's LP. So you're talking about 11% slippage on pTGC versus 14.9% on UFO for $100,000 if you're just going to clip it all at one time. I guess what I'm saying is pTGC's LP being down here, you can really kind of get a sense that looking to pTGC, Prairie has got like a $2.3 million LP web now. I think we're right at a $30 million market cap. People like to see about a 10% market cap to LP ratio. This ecosystem has way more than that. Way more than that. If you look at the current market cap of UFO, which is like, 7-8 million right now? The amount of liquidity in that, Prairie, is what? For UFO?
It's hard to tell right now because of the low volume.
3.2.
Okay, so you have a $3.2 million liquidity with a token that's like $7.5 million market cap. That's freaking phenomenal. It's directly connected to pTGC. pTGC is at just under a 30 million market cap with 2.3 of its own, and the cumulative is like 5.5 million. So if you combine the two, right, you have what is the market cap right now? 29 million plus 7.5, 36.5. So you generally want to see, if you cumulative those two market caps, the $36.5 million market cap, and if you bring those two webs together, it's 3.65 million in terms of you take that market cap and you times that by 0.1, which would be 10% of the cumulative market cap. You would want to see a $3.65 million liquidity web, but we have a $5.3 or $4 million liquidity web. So it's well over 10% cumulative market cap to liquidity web ratio down here when you combine the market caps and you combine the liquidity. It's well over 10% of the market cap. That's strong. That's strong.
Yeah, and just for everyone listening, the reason why they can kind of share it is a very large percentage of the liquidity is bonding pTGC to UFO.
Yeah.
So when pTGC gets sold into, it actually starts tapping into the UFO liquidity web. If UFO gets sold into, it starts tapping into the pTGCs. If they go up, it also works in the positive direction as well. If pTGC starts going up, it also drags up UFO. If UFO starts going up, it also drags up pTGC. If they both start going up, it's a compounding effect. And it's what Richard kind of talks about a lot, is what happens
when you have super scarce assets with demand connected to also other super scarce assets with demand. Well, it starts just dragging each other up because you have two, especially in this unique situation, they're also buying and burning. UFOs buying and burning pTGC. So every time it's buying and burning pTGC, it's also helping itself because they're so heavily bonded with each other. That's kind of one of the big reasons, I think, when PulseChain does start to move up and when you see the volatility and volume pick up on chain, you see prices picking up on chain, not just in our assets, but assets where our liquidity webs. You see that inflated X, like the X multiplier on pTGC and UFO, because that snowball effect really just starts to grow. You have prices moving up, which equal more value generation equals more buy and burns equals more price going up, which then equals more value generation, which then equals more buy and burns, which then green candles bringing in more people, which then brings larger community, and it all really starts to compound. And we have to kind of realize that compounding effect that we're talking about, that we've seen in increases of 50x, is PulseChain not even getting back to sack rate. That's just PulseChain going from the low levels that we are right now to 408. And we've seen that kind of momentum being built with just that. Like, what happens if we actually have a significant run on PulseChain past sack rate? We've yet to see this for over a year and a half, almost 2 years now. But being in a specific asset that leverages that move and has proven to be able to leverage it very well in not so drastic moves in the past, but been able to create drastic moves off of that. I think there is something to like pay attention to. There is right now we're at the can still access pTGC at low prices, but if PulseChain starts to go and pTGC does what it's done in the past, we could make some serious ground in cryptocurrency. Like, we can start getting up to $1 billion market cap with just a couple of these things starting to line up in our favor. Especially due to the fact, like, distributed supply for another year, bought and burnt tokens for another year, added LP for another year. The sustainability that we should be able to have based on doing this stuff for a whole nother year than expected, I don't think should be over. I think it's actually a blow eyes for our ecosystem if those X's do come. Obviously, if PulseChain doesn't get adoption, like, we would have rather just had that happen a year ago. But if it was just delayed a year, what this did for pTGC, I don't think everyone fully even grasps yet. It made a difference for the sustainability and the growth into this next push. And it gave users who still wanted to increase their bag, who maybe found out a little bit later than others, it gives them the opportunity that others had earlier, willing to take the risk for the reward before the candles on the chart. This is kind of the same example with Hex that I like to give, is like the opportunity that we have right now on Hex, the opportunity that we have right here on pTGC is the opportunity for people who maybe found it a little bit later to get the position that they maybe wanted and felt like they missed. You have to have the balls to pull the trigger, though, right? This is the same thing with the people who bought a bunch of pTGC, like when Banana bought a bunch of pTGC. When Banana got into pTGC, he pulled the trigger and reaped the rewards of it. I'm not saying that was super easy for him to pull a trigger in the environment that pTGC was in at that time. Publicly, a lot of people were still bashing on it. I think K4K got a lot of that brute force when he first came out and said, hey, I've been studying this protocol. I've been studying the math behind it. I think this thing's pretty sweet. Like, I saw a bunch of people attack him. But the people who pulled the trigger in those hard times reaped the rewards. And I think the market right now is giving everyone who was wishing they pulled the trigger earlier once they saw pTGC move. It just gave them a second chance to take action. A lot of people won't take action because you kind of have to have the balls to. But for the people who do, I think it's a great opportunity.
Well, I'm going to tell you, when we first started, I remember we had a one-on-one, and one of the first things I spoke to you about was the raising of the floor, and how just the math works with these smart contracts. At the end of the day, I think a lot of the times we lose the reality that the Grays currency is a suite of smart contracts that are hard-coded to do a certain thing math-wise. So as long as people are buying and selling this protocol, it doesn't matter how high the price goes, how low the price goes. As long as there's people buying and selling, there's immutable, unchangeable math happening. So as long as people are buying and holding and buying and selling, and the bots keep doing what they're doing, over time, there's just a mathematical reality that cannot be argued against. And what is it? It's that the floor, the price floor for the token has to just keep going up. Now, we all know that in this crazy ass volatile space of crypto, which is still very new, that 90% retracements on these assets is essentially normative.
Mm-hmm.
It's normative for Bitcoin. It's been normative for ETH. It's normative for freaking everything.
Yeah, man.
Right? Look at the retracement on Bitcoin itself just since October's top. We're currently like 20% away from a pre-Bitcoin halving valuation of Bitcoin, and it literally happened in 40 days. So it's interesting that the Grays, which is just math essentially, the floor. You remember when it was $1 million and we were trying to tell people at $1 million about this thing. $500,000, $5 million market cap, $10 million market cap. And here we are, Bitcoin's already down. What is it at today? I haven't even looked at the price. Do you guys know what the Bitcoin price is today? Is it still 83 or something?
It's 84.6.
Okay, so 84.6. We're in the middle of a manipulated, I want to say manipulated, an artificial low on PulseChain because of the way that Richard Hart designed this damn sacrifice phase. And many people, I told everybody, we're about to see shit prices on the blockchain because of the way he designed the thing. But $30 million market cap now, and on pTGC. Cumulative $37 million market cap between the two core coins in the ecosystem. $37 million market cap with almost $5.8 million of liquidity. And it's generating revenue between, what was it? I think it's, what does it say on look into pTGC? I think the average, it's still a lot of money it's generating every week. Going into stables, billions in Pulse, buying the chart up. So there's this floors then that's constantly, so we can see now, we're at a $30 million market cap. I don't know if this is the absolute floor, but I know that there's just a ton of people that are not selling their coins here. I know them. So at some point, it bottoms out. And the only thing that happens is people start buying it. And it starts going up in ratio against PulseChain. So the floor, all I'm saying is the math behind this system, I love it. It's the first thing that I talked to Zen about when he had a one-on-one conversation with me when I first was introduced to it. And the first thing that I noticed is that the system just constantly raises the price floor, which means what? If every single person sold their coins back into the pools, this is what the price would be. Well, that price has to just keep going up because you constantly have coins that are being taken off the market, purchased off the market and burned, purchased off the market and burned into LPs. And you're constantly adding new users. I mean, we're headed towards 18,000 holders right now. So it's just very interesting to watch. Look, man, it's a freaking patience game. Mm-hmm. Anybody who got in early, we went up to a phenomenal market cap on a very dead chain with zero help from the blockchain. So it's proof that this is a very unique thing on PulseChain and just in general in crypto. It's a very unique protocol. And it's just, you could have sold. There were people that did sell. There were people that sold their asses off. There's people that didn't sell anything because they just like accumulating. But the floor is higher and higher and higher, Zen. And that's why I'm seeing, we can sit here at $30 million market cap. Bitcoin's already down at 83. It only has 20-something% left to go to get back to the price of Bitcoin that it was at the previous halving, with the biggest institution saying it's going into the millions. So this is why I just feel like it just feels so strange, this market cycle. And I didn't talk to B about this, but I was feeling the same thing. I talked to my brother-in-law last night. I was looking at the numbers last night, and I made 2 posts about Bitcoin yesterday. And it's just because, look, I've been around, and the speed at which Bitcoin has gone down, it's just too fast. It's too fast for how bullish the market has been, how wide, how much adoption, how much regulation, the administration, the ETFs, the adoption of it, all the regulatory stuff it just feels off to me. That's why I'm like, look, if it goes down there, I expect a massive bounce. You can't have Bitcoin going to 60,000 range when everyone thinks it's going to millions and think that you're not going to have a freaking bounce.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is just driving the price floor for this specific asset on PulseChain, which nobody knows
about. Yeah, 64 is also the last cycle's all-time high. So definitely probably some strong support there.
There's no question that if you're a massive financial institution, that is where you're going to start DCAing in. It's the previous all-time high. It's the price that Bitcoin was the day of the halving, which front ran. The price was 71. That the new all-time high that front ran it. It pulled back to 64.9 on the day of the halving. And then it essentially doubled in price. So you're at 64, at the 60-something range, you're like at a 50% discount on an asset already. So, of course, people are going to be buying it at that price, dude.
But on the other hand, I mean, this is November, December. People are going to be taking those tax hits now. I'm not seeing anything for Bitcoin or Ethereum until January.
It's exactly what I said in my post. January.
And I see a lot of the same wallets that I track on pTGC, they must have been around since the beginning because all they do is dump 13K, 11K, 10K. So I need to get those people out of there too.
That's what the system does. That's what the system does. I mean, every token has people that sell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even I have my guide, where I'm going to sell. I'm going to get my money back and then let the rest go.
Yeah,
selling is good.
What I like about the system, brother, is that it doesn't care if you buy or sell.
It actually does better when people buy and sell.
100%. And, we don't shop. The thing that I love about it, and I'll let you comment on this, we show up no matter what. The protocol keeps doing what it's doing. It keeps adding holders. It keeps adding to LP. It doesn't matter if the chart's at 350 million or a million or 30 million, or if you're buying your bag or you're selling your bag. The only thing that matters is, are you holding your bag because you think it's undervalued? Are you selling your bag because you think it's overvalued? And is the price floor rising? And is the liquidity web enlarging? I'll let you comment. I mean,
everything
people want to do $10,000 flips and just sell their bag here, they're selling at way less than they could have sold. So go for it.
Yeah, but again, some of these guys got in really early. I mean, some of these wallets that I see, they're in like, I don't know how much they have. I can't actually see between the wallets, but they have a lot, and they could be up right now. As a matter of fact, I'm sure most of them are up.
Yeah, but I guess my thing is like, what's the point? There's always people that got in early and that can sell at a profit, even here, in any coin, right? Like, there's people are going to be willing to sell up to a certain point. People are going to be willing to buy it up at a certain point, but it doesn't matter.
What we really need is, what the hell is this ProveX? We definitely need more. He said he was going to make a video in 2 or 3 days. It's been a week and a half. That's the excitement that everyone's waiting for right now. And I don't know. He's hiding behind his shades.
I'll be honest, but I don't even. To me, I'm not even excited about ProveX. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other personally. As somebody who's on PulseChain, has been here from before anything started, it's going to be a great protocol to use. I'll tell you that. Just talking to some of the devs on PulseChain, it's going to be legitimate. The infrastructure is 100% legit. Like, it's going to be a legit thing for sure. But you know what I'm excited about? I'm just excited for the sacrifice stand. I just want the damn sacrifice over with already. Just get this bullshit.
Hey, man. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to be happy if at the last minute I start seeing like the original SAC funds start sacking for this new project, and all of a sudden it goes from 4 million total SAC to 200 million in the last 5 minutes, because that just means that he's sacking for his own.
Well, yeah, you can bet your ass that that's exactly what's going to happen, and it's not. It'll be the amount that's going to come in is going to be based on what's in the sacrifice right at the last minute. But that's 100% going to happen, dude. So you might as well just prepare to be upset about that, because that's exactly how it's going to happen.
Because he's saying, no, you can't sack cores, and then he's going to sack the SAC, which basically, I don't know. I think that's kind of hypocritical.
It's not hypocritical at all. It's just his way of doing his tokenomics. And he can't set. All he's going to be doing is sending whatever are acceptable assets, ETH or USDC or whatever, from one wallet to another wallet. And that's how he controls the supply of his token. And that's all that it really is just supply control.
And he should make a deal with that Rackham motherfucker and just buy him out. He's the worst scourge. I don't know if you guys know him or like him, but yeah, I'm not with that guy.
So if ProveX part of its infrastructure allows for OTC deals for any amount of money. So example, if somebody can put onto ProveX, hey, I've got $5 million cash in USDC, but I want this much PulseChain for it. You'll take no slippage. You'll take no whatever. You'll get a 10% bump out of it or whatever. Now we're talking about taking real money, large amounts of PulseChain off of bigger players' hands without it even affecting the price. And now you've taken it off the market that it can't be sold. I think that may be one of the features of ProveX where you actually are allowed to put up a certain amount. I've got $5 million. I've got $1 million of stables here. I want to take your PulseChain off the market, but I want a fat freaking deal to do it.
And also, if that scenario plays out, is it, pieable? Can 10 people, can 20 people, buy that one? Like if he wants, 50 million hex for, an allotted amount of USDC, does it have to go in a transaction, or can multiple people buy that transaction and then convert that transaction?
Well, I would imagine it would just be until it's filled, right? If I put up $1 million of USDC and I say I want this much PulseChain at this price, someone could come and fill this much of the order. Someone could come and fill this much of the order. I would imagine that it would be set up that way.
Well, that would be very good. That's what I'm hoping that it's going to turn into. Like if you make a market order, and when it gets filled, it gets filled. Like if you set, a limit order of, 3 cents a hex, when it finally gets filled, then the contract is, filled at that point. That would be good.
Yeah, because then, for example, and I'm just using, his name just because everybody does. I don't know what he's doing, but if Rackham, for example, wants out, instead of selling $5,000 a day, if he's doing that or whoever's doing that, he could just say, you know what? I'm keeping this much of my pulse bags for speculation for the future, but I do want out with the rest, right? Well, now you can go to the OTC and say, well, look, he can say, I'm willing to sell this, 50 billion PulseChain for this much USDC. So whoever wants to buy him out can just buy him out. But so I see ProveX as a potential for that, for actually removing sell pressure off the chain without smashing the liquidity pools in the DEX.
And that also opens up for all of that tornado cash, to buy out these big players on the down low.
Well, just in an over-the-counter environment that's not hurting the price of the chain. And zero need for either party to trust, right? Like that's the big part, right? So I do see it as great. I think that the product is great. It would be great to see that. I think that, Richard spoke about this a couple of years ago, even in his spaces that I retweeted yesterday, having this kind of a thing, So I think it's great. But we'll see what it is. I'm not real bullish on the token or anything like that, but I'm more bullish on just getting the damn sacrifice over with. even up to December 3rd, I think it's December 3rd is when the best rate ends and the bonding curve starts ratcheting up. I think it'll be cool just to kind of see where we're at even then. Because if you're a big sacrificer, you want to get in before the bonding curve starts ratcheting up, right?
When is it supposed to be over?
So the date that it's over, it changed one day yesterday, so that was very interesting. But the date is 1/9. Sacrifice ends January 9th.
Cool.
That makes sense, because that's when I feel like everything's going to start turning around, like the beginning of January. Ooh. After the holidays. Give it a week. The 9th sounds good.
Yeah, let the market just kind of let Bitcoin go as low as it can go. Like you said, the tax stuff, people tax harvesting or whatever. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to potentially be getting rates changing in January. So I don't know. We're going to see whether or not this whole market cycle, 4-year cycle thing, right now, the 4-year cycle, market cycle thing is 100% correct. It's 100%, we're going into a bear market, in my opinion, just based off of TA and all the timing and everything right now. But if we get a turnaround going into January, it's been invalidated at that point. If we get a turnaround on Bitcoin in January or in Q1, the 4-year cycle is invalidated.
Yeah, I don't know about the 4-year cycle anymore, since all the institutions and institutional buying, they fucked all that up, I think. That's my personal opinion. I don't even believe in it anymore.
We don't have a confirmation of that yet unless we see a reversal on Bitcoin from here. If there's no reversal on Bitcoin from here, the 4-year cycle has not been invalidated. It's 100% in. Without question, the 4-year cycle is still in. It has to be invalidated. So anyway, going back to pTGC, yes, there's people that got in early, but the thing is that even people who are willing to sell 10,000 here, 10,000 there, 10,000, at some point they're comfortable. At some point, and to be honest with you, some of these people, they sell because they want to buy in cheaper. And a lot of people don't think about that. I was on a space with Mario Nafal and some of the biggest hedge funds guys on the planet 2 or 3 days ago. And one of the smartest guys in the room, he said, if you're bullish on something, you sell so you can buy it back cheaper. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of people that are in an asset that sell, they want to buy a nice fat bag at a perceived bottom too. So that's why when B is talking about the bounce on a certain psychological level will be so hard, because the second that the market perceives that the floor is in and it's not coming back, they want to buy back more position now. And they can do that comfortably because they've taken profits. They're in-house money. Everything is good. And they want to ride the next wave again. The system benefits from that speculation constantly. And I perceive that it will never stop.
The only reason I'm not selling right now is I don't trust Richard. That motherfucker could...
Dude, $2 million into the system
and I would be screwed.
Yeah, just $2 million into PulseChain right now pumps it at 2.17x. Just $2 million, dude.
Yeah, I think if he hasn't used it yet, like a few months ago, he bridged in like $5 million and just has it secretly just sitting here from Tornado Cash wallets. I don't know if anyone still tracks those wallets that it came in it with, but I'm guessing it's still sitting here in stables.
Yeah.
To be deployed at any moment.
And I also do think that there is a level where, you know, he's just not going to let PulseChain go to, because you just don't want to invite people to be able to buy Pulse at like not swap meet level prices, but literally like Guyana prices, bro. Like at some point, you don't want it to go much lower than where your top sacrificers paid for it. Right now, even the biggest sacrificers at this price aren't in profit. So if you're selling Pulse now at this price, I don't even think you're breaking even. Even if you put $30 million into the original sacrifice.
That's what I'm afraid of too, is all of these people that are buying right now. You got the weak hands that are selling, obviously. I mean, we're just going down. But all these people that are buying, they're going to be satisfied. A lot of them are going to be satisfied with a 2x or 3x, and then they're going to dump.
Yeah, you don't have anybody buying any amount that matters. If you did, you'd see the chart go up.
I still see like 15K here, 15K there. I mean, that's maybe not a lot of money, you know, for you. But when I see people doing 15K, that's a lot of sell pressure going up. I just wish that he would have crashed it and then immediately put 2 million in, and then made every single one of those people that sold be like, fuck, you got to be kidding me. And then they would have came back in and bought.
Yeah.
But now he's letting people accumulate.
You don't know if that's not him, though, bro.
Well, and I think it's important to also pay attention to, if more people were accumulating than selling, the price wouldn't be here right now. You have to always look at where the price is sitting and what that means. If price is sitting down here, that means less people are holding. You know, more people are selling than buying. So what you're worried about is accumulation, but the truth is there's not people accumulating, there's people selling. If there's more people accumulating than selling, our price would be higher. So I get what you mean. Like, you're worried about people buying the dip, but there's more people selling the dip right now than buying, because the chart shows that.
Which is crazy.
Well, it's a sacrifice, I think. I think the sacrifice is forcing people to sell at a loss because they think there's a possibility of PulseChain going slower and they just want to sit on the sidelines. And then there's also the group of people that want to go sacrifice, and they don't have any assets to pool besides Richard's tokens. So those are the two reasons. And then there is people, like you're saying, who are taking advantage of this unique situation on chain and scooping the dip. Those are the people who obviously have value on the side, if that's still in fiat and they're just willing to take the risk and bridge in, or if there's someone who stabled up early or had ETH or other blockchain assets. There is people willing to take advantage of the opportunity here, but the opportunity is only here because there's more people selling than buying. It's simple.
But there's also people, Lika, there's also people that make money on PulseChain, even in this environment, that in the last 30 days have literally made millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 or $5,000. And they're using it to make income. They bridge it off. They got to pay their bills. There's people that have made PulseChain their home, that they speculate in shit coins and meme coins, and they sit in the spaces and they look for launch and they look for this and they look for that, just like on any other blockchain. And so you do see 10,000 bridging out, 15,000 bridging out, or whatever. Because why? Because they don't care right now, because they're making money, right? And so it doesn't matter about holding their bags. They're using it as a way to make monthly income. So if you've got 100 guys that are doing that, 200 guys, whatever the amount of guys that are on PulseChain. They've got their bags of PulseChain. They've got their their pTGC. They've got their whatever, and they're just shitcoining on PulseChain. But hey, I gotta pay for my mortgage this month. I gotta pay for my and that's what they do. Yeah, so you're gonna see an outflow of potentially millions of dollars a month if people are making money shitcoining on PulseChain. And let me tell you, some people have made a lot. Like just in the last few weeks before the sacrifice, there are some coins that made a lot of people a lot of money, man.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
A lot of people made a lot of money on certain coins over the last 3 weeks. They don't necessarily give a shit about PulseChain right now. They got to go buy their wife a diamond ring to propose to. They got to buy their kid a car or send them to college or whatever the hell's going on, right?
Month and a half more of pain. Month and a half more of pain. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Well, as long as this sacrifice is going, it's just, I can't wait for the sacrifice to get over with. So January 9th, between now and January 9th. And to be honest, with Bitcoin going down as fast as it did in the market and the sacrifice, I'm surprised PulseChain is still at this price, bro. I would have thought it had gone down faster than this. Like I do think that the OA is buying up the Pulse at these prices. Love pTGC though, Zen. It's just a freaking. It's just an awesome damn token on PulseChain, bro.
You're saying that you hope or you wish or you think Richard is buying up the tokens at this cheap level because, like Lika was just saying, because if people are buying these cheap levels, that possibly could be sell pressure in the future. And we don't want sell pressure in the future. So if Richard's buying and if Richard doesn't plan on selling, well, then that eliminates a lot of that sell pressure. One thing that stands out is pTGC has been buying a ton of its tokens at the bottom. So all that sell pressure is now getting washed. 1 billion pTGC has been bought in the last week and a half. And in the last month, roughly almost 400 million has been bought and burned. So a lot of the things that people hope is happening on PulseChain are happening within pTGC on chain right now, and we can see it happening.
Phenomenal, dude.
And they're paying me.
Yeah,
and everyone's earning.
The amount of tokens that are coming in to my wallet right now, I love it, bro. Because I know what those tokens are worth up there.
Yep.
It's just a patience game, guys. With this, it's it.
Yep.
It's like any other damn thing.
Great talk, guys. I got a meeting I got to go to. See you guys next week.
Thanks for coming in, brother. Appreciate you. Have a good week.
Have a good week. Bye-bye.
We've been going 3 hours now, and I'm pretty ready to call it.
Sounds good.
You guys got anything?
There's nothing on YouTube.
If you are new, there's a video in the Nest that Cryptographics did to get kind of accustomed and acquainted to what the system is on a basic level. Very good illustrative video. Take a look at that. If you have questions about the protocol, come into the TG, and we can open up a VC anytime to have one-on-ones or answer any questions.
Yeah.
Guys, have a good one.
Yep. See you guys.
See you guys.
All right, ladies and gents. Now I get to go do other stuff. Got to make videos for the new website. Fun. It's fun with videos and editing videos. We wish you UFO to go channel. Do you have a YouTube channel? If you do, drop it in my Telegram. Because I want to check it out. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your Saturday. And we will be on Spaces again Monday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. All right, guys. See you later. Cool.